kababayan, ang
manatili po tayong nakatayo. Alam kong ito na ho yung pinakamatagal na national anthem na narinig nyo. Magdasal po muna tayo. Lord, thank you for giving us this day. Sana po gabayan nyo kami dito sa aming budget briefing na to at bigyan nyo po sana kami ng strength, wisdom, and courage para magawa po namin ang aming mga trabaho. At lalong-lalo na salamat din po at nakarating dito yung aming mga bisita ngayong araw na to para makapag-present. At sana po ilayo nyo po kami sa mga sakit at sana po lagi nyo kaming i-protect against COVID. All this we ask in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Pwede na po tayo maupo. The meeting is now called to order.
Mr. Chairman, I move to defer the calling of the roll.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. I-acknowledge ko lang yung ating Deputy Speaker, Paulo Duterte, na nasa Zoom ngayon at Comsec. Pwede bang paki-acknowledge yung ating mga House members muna nandito ngayon at yung mga nasa Zoom at pagkatapos yung mga ating resource person.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. The committee would like to recognize the members present physically at the Nograles Hall. We have Representative Joderico Jaresco, Vice Chair Manuel Jose Manix Delife, Representative Carlos Zarate, and Representative Argel Kabatbat. In Zoom, Mr. Chairman, we have 34 members who are currently logged in, and we have Deputy Speaker Henry Uaminal, Deputy Speaker Aurelio Gonzalez, Deputy Speaker Rodante Marcoleta, Vice Chairperson Lorna Bandigan, Vice Chairperson Rosano Biason, Vice Chairperson Juni Cua, Vice Chairperson Luisa Cuaresma, Vice Chairperson Romeo Halusos, Vice Chairperson Manuel Sagarbaria, Vice Chairperson Jose Pingping Tijada, and Vice Chairperson Y. Zamora Curat. For our resource persons who responded to our invitation to attend...
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Rufus Rodriguez is present, please, Mr. Chairman.
And Congresswoman Geraldine Romanes here as well. Thank you.
Chairman, Vice Chair Bingo Matugas is present.
Mr. Chairman, Rep. Ria Vergara is present as well.
Yes,
Also, Glo Labad-Labad, Mr. Chair. Also, Glo Labad-Labad, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Pangawang is present as well, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Sanchez is present also.
Mr. Chair, Edgar Chato is also present.
yung member, sir. Yes, sir, ma'am. We already recognize the 34 members who are present. Would you want me to read the name? Yes, sir. We'd like to read the names of the members present via Zoom. We have Representative Yasser Palindo,
present.
Rep. Angelo Marcos Barba, Representative Abdullah Dimaporo, Representative Muhammad Khalid Dimaporo,
Election.
Representative Godofredo Guya,
Yula Dimapuro present, Mr. Chair.
Rep. Cesar
Mr. Chair, Congresswoman Ruth Mariano Hernandez present.
Jimenez, Representative Maricel Natividad Naganyo, Representative Eddie Bong Plaza, Representative Geraldine Roman, Representative Joy Myra Tambunting, Representative Angelina Helen Tan, Representative Sherlyn Banas Nograles, Representative Arlene Rosas, Representative Sabiniano Canama, Representative Edgar Chato, Representative Elizalde Co, Representative Eufemia Culyamat, Representative Dalia Loyola, Representative Macnel Lusotan, Representative Alan Jesse Mangawang, Representative Florida Robes, Representative Rowena Nina Taduran, Representative Jocelyn Tulfo, Representative Isidro Ungab, and Representative Vicente Ching Veloso III.
Mr. Chairman.
And
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Rufus Rodriguez, you are
Thank
so
you,
recognized.
Mr. Chairman. Committee Secretary, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Also, Glo Labad-Labad, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you po.
Also, Representative Hector Sanchez.
Mr. Chairman, also Yula Dimapuro present.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chairman.
Congresswoman Ruth Mariano Hernandez present. Mr. Chair, this is Congresswoman Ruth. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Congressman Luisa Quaresma present too.
Mr. Chair, Congressman Vergara, Ria Vergara present as
Sir,
well.
sabihin mo na na-recognize na natin sila lahat sa...
Mga members na nasa Zoom, thank you very much po at na-recognize na po kayo. Comsec, paki-recognize naman yung ating mga resource person.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to recognize the resource persons who attends today's budget briefing of the Committee on Appropriations. We would like to recognize, please raise your hand if your name is called. Attorney Lucius Junjun, Attorney Luis Menrado Pangulayan, Undersecretary for Legal Affairs Office, Attorney Emily Padilla, Undersecretary for Support Services, Attorney David Ero, Undersecretary for Field Operations, Virginia Orogo, Undersecretary for Policy Planning and Research Office, Bernie Cruz, Undersecretary for Foreign Assisted and Special Projects Office, and those at the Belmonte Room, we would like also to recognize Maria Celerina Afable, Director for Project Management Service, Attorney Juan Lorenzo Maria, Head Executive Assistant, Johnny Ang, Budget Officer 2. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. And of course, Mr. Chairman, we'd like also to recognize the Secretary of the Department of Agrarian Reform via Zoom, Secretary Jan Castriciones. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Una-una, magandang umaga sa atin lahat. Hinihingi ko ng paumanhin yung konting delay natin dahil nagkaroon po tayo ng mga swab testing pa. Gusto lang naman natin makapag-hearing tayo or makapag-briefing tayo ng budget ng lahat tayo ay safe. So mas gagalingan pa natin para mas hindi po tayo madelay. At syempre, pasensya na rin po sa napakahabang national anthem. Gusto kong i-welcome yung mga resource person natin ngayong araw na to, no? Gusto ko rin i-encourage na hanggat kaya sana yung mga secretaries ay maka-attend kasi po, kailangan na kailangan namin kayo dito sa floor dahil syempre po, mas mabilis magkaintindihan. Pero syempre, doon po sa ating secretary na biglang tumaas ang blood pressure, ay naintindihan naman po natin yun. Ayaw rin po natin isaalang-alang ang kanyang kalusugan. Ngayon po, pakinggan natin, bago ko ibigay sa yung presentation, gusto ko muna sanang ipaalala na meron po tayong People's Initiative po Kumbaga meron tayong mga ibang kasamahan sa Facebook at yung mga akadim natin na pwede rin magtanong ng iilang tanong. Pagkatapos po ng presentation, balik po tayo sa tanungan ulit. Minority, tas majority, pagtatatlong minuto po. Dahil pwede na po kayo mag-present ng inyong ipe-present. You're now
Mr. Chairman,
acknowledged.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, si Kong Rufus.
I heard you, if I hear you right, Mr. Chairman, non-representatives of this Congress can ask directly questions to the resource persons? Is that
Yung mga iba
is
po,
that the announcement, Mr. Chairman?
ano po?
My question is, are we allowing non-members of the House of Representatives to propose questions to our resource persons?
Siguro mga dalawa po. Yung mga professor from Lasal at yung mga iba po sa UP. Oho.
Mr. Chairman, that will be against the rules. Committee of Preparations hearing
Kong Rufi,
are for members of Congress to
Okay.
force their questions
Kong Rufi,
through the representatives.
yes. Okay, we can do that. Kung ayaw nyo marinig ang boses ng mga ordinaryong tao dito sa floor, by your suggestion, I can do that.
Yes, that is
Just
my
say it.
suggestion, Mr. Chairman.
Just say it,
We
Kong
follow
Rufi,
the
and I will
rules
do it.
of the House. We
What?
follow the rules of the House.
Okay, we follow the rules of the House. Wag natin pakinggan yung boses ng ibang tao according to Kong Rufus Rodriguez. Then,
That's correct.
let's be it. Let's be it. Okay na yun.
Yeah.
At least, thank you for your suggestion, Kong Rufus, na wag muna silang marinig ngayon at tayo na lang ang magsalita. Wala pong problema yung Kong Rufus kung yan ang gusto nyo. I just wanted to put on record na sundan natin yung rules and then wag natin bigyan ng chance yung mga ibang tao na participate. So, okay sa akin yan. At least sinuggest nyo po.
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
they can course through they can course, Mr. Chairman, to the representatives. Because
Okay.
that is our rules.
So, now,
Unless we amend our rules in the plenary, the rule stays. Only
okay,
members
thank you, Kong
of the
Rufus. So now,
Yes.
we proceed to the presentation para marinig
Mr.
na po
Chair.
natin yung Department of Agrarian
Mabilis lang
Reform.
po.
Opo,
May I
yes.
be recognized, Mr. Chair?
Ma'am, hindi kasi namin kayo nakikita sa Zoom. Ay, yes, Congresswoman Vergara, ano po yun?
Geraldine Roman po.
Ay, sorry,
Geraldine Roman.
magkaboses po kayo. Yes, Kong Roman.
Okay. May I just propose a Solomonic arrangement? Bearing in mind the rules of the Committee on Appropriations, what we can do, tayo po mga representatives, if the chairman, it pleases the chairman, pwede tayong basahin. We can connect to the live streaming of this committee hearing sa House of Representatives official Facebook page. Tapos bilang representative, isa po pwede magbasa, what have you. Nasa sa inyo po yan, Mr. Chairman. Kasi nga po, although we have this rules sa Committee on Appropriations, ayaw naman natin to come across as being, so dadaan din naman po sa aming mga representatives. We can
Noted,
leave one or two
Kong-
questions.
Yes, noted po, Kong Geraldine. Thank you po sa suggestion. And now, may we proceed to the budget presentation of DAR?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Before we proceed, we'd like to request for the PowerPoint presentation to be displayed on the main monitor. Mr. Chair and the honorable members of the committee, isang magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. We are here on behalf of the Department of Agrarian Reform and in behalf of our Secretary, Attorney John R. Castriciones, who, as we have conveyed earlier to the Chair, cannot be with us because of some temporary physical limitation. Over the weekend, we have been preparing for this presentation, and perhaps he had some problems early today with his blood pressure, and he's left with no other choice but to stay at home, and he has given us proper instructions. We would like to apologize for this development. Let it be stated for the record that he very much wants to be with us today to speak on behalf of the department and the men and women of
Yusek, excuse, pakibigyan na lang rin kami ng letter niya para we will put it on record. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have already communicated the same to Secretary Castriciones, and I believe his office will be sending one before the end of the day, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
although I am not physically present today, I am actually here in the Zoom meeting. And I hope that if there are some questions directed to me personally, I can also answer those questions. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Chair.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If I may proceed, Mr. Chair, just awaiting for the PowerPoint presentation.
Chair, quick lang.
Yes,
While awaiting
yes,
for the
okay lang
PowerPoint,
po.
is there a way that here in the committee room, makita natin yung taga nasa Zoom for us?
Ayun nga kasi nagka-problema lang tayo. Hindi, nakikita lang tayo pero hindi natin sila nakikita. So, siguro yung technical, kausapin natin kasi medyo mahirap talaga dahil pag dun lang sila nakikita, liit pa na lumalabas dun sa screen. So, ipapaayos namin kung sarate.
Thank you, Chair, because siyempre in the coming committee hearings, difficult.
Medyo hindi tayo techy. At least itong pandemic na to, siguro, nakita natin na yung ating computer modernization sa house, kailangan talagang ayusin. Yung national anthem nga natin. Ang tagal
Mr. Chair, Congressman Tingting Tejada po.
Yes, go ahead, Gong.
First, first of all, I would like to make an apology for being the chair and designated vice chair for the Department of Agrarian Reform. I cannot make it today, but I've made the preparations with the Secretariat as well as the presentations that is going to be made by other vice chairs, Mr. Chairman. Thank you po.
I-pass ko muna yung chair sa'yo, kung Manix Dalipe, para ayusin ko rin yung ibang technical natin.
Si Oman. Sabi mo ako pumunta dito si Oman. Sige.
Chair, officially, I'll move to suspend first the proceedings.
Hearing is suspended.
Teka, yung RTBM, tawagin natin yung RTBM. Masira ko pa. Sige, okay na yan, okay natin.
Vice Chair Tingting.
Mahal Deputy Speaker and Nancy Marcoleta, how are you?
Vice Chair Tingting, baka naman pwedeng mag-connect na lang na doon sa...
Siguro,
on how do we list up to ask questions, because I am vibrating with Mr. Joel, and I have not gotten a Leo, and I have not gotten a response as to not I can ask questions for DAR and the Department of Energy. So I would like to request for the committee secretariat and whoever is the chairman in charge to give us guidance, especially the members who are in Zoom, on how we can ask questions.
Yes, Khalid, Kung Khalid, can you hear me?
Boss, yes. Oh, yeah. Please, guidance lang para makita natin
Yes,
yung
yes, nakalista na kayo dito. For all other members attending via Zoom, you can text directly ComSec Leo.
Thank you, boss. Thank you.
Okay? And thank you also to my very good friend, Kong Ping Tejada, for adding my assignment today. Kong Ping, how is Cotabato?
Well, we're doing well now. Hindi kami napiktuhan ng lindol kagabi. Sabi ko kay Khalid kanina, medyo gumalayo ka, makala ko papunta ni si Mrs. sa akin, di pala lindol na pala yun.
Sige na, bago tayo mag-
It's about 11:30.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairman Ping Tejada. But together with me here is Vice Chairperson Ted Haresco. Kami dalawa dito. Of course, si Chairman Eric is also helping fix our technical difficulties here. This is the first time, according to ComSec, that we are doing this. So we're trying to make it seamless. Zoom, Facebook, and the other media platforms that this budget briefing will be presented. So, anyway, are we all set to go? Okay na?
I just remind everyone that although we are temporarily suspended, we are streaming live on Facebook. So let us be wary of our comments. And I would also like to take advantage of this very rare occasion to be with my colleagues, albeit via Zoom, to promote and to ask your support for House Bill 5507. Which is called the New and Improved Agrarian Reform Program. Salamat po.
Technical, can we already mute all the other mics so we can, the chair will now resume the meeting. Okay, we're ready. This hearing is resumed. Thank you very much again. To our guest present. We will now start, so as not to delay more time, we will now start with our first interpellator. We will, yan, sobrang na, tiningnan na ako ni Kong Kaloy, baka sabi ni Kong Kaloy, kuhan na to Okay, anyway, we will now give the floor to the Department of Agrarian Reform for their presentation of the proposed budget for 2021.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Again, we greet the honorable members of the committee and the members, distinguished members of the House of Representatives who are now on Zoom. This is the presentation of the Department of Agrarian Reform, and I speak on behalf of our beloved Secretary, John R. Casticiones. We thank you for this opportunity being given to DAR to once again present for the consideration of this august and esteemed body the recommended fiscal year 2021 budget for our department. This proposed budget is meant to continuously pursue the mandate of the Agrarian Reform Program as enshrined in our Constitution, a social justice provision with the aim of equitably distributing agricultural lands to our landless farmers. Agrarian Reform Program is not only distributing lands, but likewise includes the provision of support services. Henceforth, we are committed to provide to our program stakeholders, through this proposed budget, the provision of support services that aims to improve the productivity of the awarded agricultural lands and uplift the socio-economic conditions of agrarian reform beneficiaries. The DAR's main function of distributing land to qualified agrarian reform beneficiaries is categorically stated in Republic Act numbers 6657, 8532, and 9700. The continuing authority of agrarian reform DAR to acquire, administer, distribute, and develop agricultural lands for agrarian reform purposes is supported by Department of Justice Opinion numbers 59 and 60, series of 2013. Moreover, Section 21 of RA 9700 provides that after the completion of the land acquisition and distribution component of the CARP, the yearly appropriation shall be allocated fully to support services, agrarian justice delivery, and operational requirements of the DAR and other implementing agencies. The pronouncement of our beloved President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to implement a second phase of agrarian reform program will expand the mandate of the DAR and facilitate the coverage of the remaining agricultural lands not yet covered by the past agrarian reform programs. The issuance of Executive Order Number 75 on February 15, 2019, mandating the coverage of government-owned lands by the DAR for agrarian reform purposes is a clear manifestation of this instruction of our President. That is why we take this opportunity to ask the honorable members of Congress to approve our 2021 proposed budget and help our department in pursuing the passage of a new agrarian reform law. With the help of Congress, we are optimistic that the directives of our beloved President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to this humble representation will come into reality. Second slide, please. In the second slide, we are showing the 10-point socio-economic agenda of President Duterte. The importance of the agrarian reform program can be traced in two of the points included in the agenda. Item number 5, promote rural and value chain development toward increasing agricultural and rural enterprise productivity and rural tourism. And item number 6 of the agenda, ensure security of land tenure to encourage investments and address bottlenecks in land management and titling agencies. We'll now proceed to slide number 3. Following the pronouncement and directives of the President toward the completion of land acquisition distribution during his term, and in pursuit of the goal to equitably distribute land to our tillers, the DAR has prepared a proposed budget responsive to the current needs and policy directions of the department. Our proposed budget for 2021 has been informed, guided, and prepared using the following planning parameters. We now proceed to slide number 4. Land distribution is the main mandate of the DAR. This is the Land Tenure Security Program. In the succeeding slides, we will present to the committee the land acquisition and distribution accomplishment of our department as of June 2020.
Chair, there's no audio in Zoom. We cannot hear the presentation.
Hearing is suspended. Can you please check on the audio? The members attending via Zoom, they cannot hear the audio presentation of
still under technical consideration.
USEC.
Okay. Akala ko Manik said that he's going to start na eh.
but actually there is no yet, that's the intent of Vice Chair Manix, but of course we are under the
Actually, can you hear me, Kong Ping and Kong Khalid? Can you hear me?
budget hearing.
Naririnig nyo ba kami dito?
Suggestion lang, if it's such a hard technical difficulty, just send the presentation to our Viber group. So members of Congress can review the presentation. Let's just go straight to question and answer.
Kong Khalid, can you hear me?
Yes, Manix, boss.
Yes, okay. We are already in the presentation. The presentation of DAR has been emailed to you. To all the members. Can you check all your email and check if the presentation of the Department of Agrarian Reform has been sent to you in the sa chat room daw? Can you check sa Viber group ng House members?
I have it here.
Okay. So in the event you cannot follow the presentation of Department of Agrarian Reform, you can check doon sa chat room natin ng members. So the presentation of Department of Agrarian Reform has been sent there. So you can open it and you can look at it right now. So I just want to double check, are those present in the Zoom meeting, can you hear us here right now?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, so kindly mute all your microphones. We will resume now. Hearing is resumed.
With the permission, thank you, Mr. Chair. With your permission, we will proceed. We are now on slide number 4. May I request that slide number 4 be displayed on the monitor if possible? Mr. Chair, I will be proceeding.
Yes, please proceed, Yusek Luis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Slide number 4 is about the Land Tenure Security Program. Land distribution is the main mandate of the department. In the succeeding slides, we will be presenting the land acquisition and distribution accomplishments of our department as of June 2020. The Land Acquisition and Distribution Program. Slide number 5. From 1972 to June 2020, DAR was able to cover a total of 4.826 million hectares to 2.894 million agrarian reform beneficiaries. The net accomplishment of our land acquisition and distribution, or LAD, is comprised of the following. 56% or 2.7 million hectares are private agricultural lands, or PAL. 44% or 2.1 million hectares are non-PAL. Of these land holdings, 84 million hectares or 38% are Land Bank of the Philippines compensable, and 2.98 million hectares are non-Land Bank of the Philippines compensable. Slide number 6. During the term of President Duterte from July 2016 until June 2020, the DAR was able to acquire a total of 122,290 hectares of lands issued with registered emancipation patents, or EPs, and certificates of land ownership awards, or CLOAs. Of these covered land holdings, a total of 168,238 hectares were distributed to agrarian reform beneficiaries, and 83,103 of these agrarian reform beneficiaries were already installed. For the past 4 years, around 30,600 hectares have been the average annual accomplishment for LAD, with the highest accomplishment reported in 2017. It is worthy to note that in the second half of 2016, the DAR was able to accomplish 20,901 hectares despite the period of transition that happened with the change of administration and leadership in the DAR. On the other hand, only 6,080 hectares were accomplished in the first half of 2020, mainly due to the lockdown in large areas of the country starting in March. Because of the declaration of a state of public health emergency and the enhanced community quarantine. We are optimistic, however, that with a gradual return to office of our personnel, albeit their limited number physically reporting for work to comply with physical distancing, our target of 42,792 hectares will substantially be met by year's end. The historical trend of DAR's land accomplishment picks up at least at the last 2 quarters of the year, wherein the land process reaches the completion for most of the targeted land holdings. Hence, we are confident that our land accomplishment will increase towards the year end. This slide will also show the summary of land distribution in 2018. A total of 28,501 hectares were covered with registered EPs and CLOAs and issued to a total of 41,787 ARBs during the year. This accomplishment is equivalent to 99% of the target for the year of 42,162 ARBs. Of the ARBs awarded with EP CLOAs, 27,465 ARBs, or 66%, were installed to their awarded lands. In terms of area, the aggregate area covered by EP CLOAs is 60,777 hectares. This accomplishment exceeded the target for the year of 46,644 hectares by as much as 30.30%. For the year 2019, a total of 32,241 hectares out of the 41,000 hectares target for EP CLOA registration were covered, benefiting 20,621 ARBs. On the other hand, the actual distributed lands to ARBs in 2019 totaled to 67,072 hectares, benefiting 51,220 ARBs. Out of these ARBs awarded with EP CLOAs, 33,119 ARBs, or 65%, were actually installed. Slide number 7. As regards the status of our land balance, starting January 2020, the DAR had a beginning balance of 523,092 hectares. Presented in the slide before you are the components of the land balance, with 92% covering private agricultural lands at 483,612 hectares. The biggest chunk of the land balance is composed of compensable lands at 459,025 hectares, or 88% of the balance, of which 337,440 hectares, or 65%, is under compulsory acquisition. The remaining 64,067 hectares of the land balance is non-LBP compensable lands at 12% of the total. Our efforts to accelerate the coverage of DAR's remaining land balance is geared towards its completion by the year 2022, as directed by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to Secretary John Castriciones. In addition, His Excellency directed DAR to fast-track the issuance of individual certificates of land ownership awards through continued acquisition and distribution of private agricultural lands, as well as parcelization of land holdings previously issued with collective CLOAs. Along this thrust, the DAR was able to work on the approval of the World Bank-funded Project Split, or support to parcelization of lands for individual titling this June 2020, with a project duration until the year 2023. Its startup activities are ongoing while still awaiting for the release of funds for the purpose. Aside from distributing the remaining private agricultural lands, the DAR is committed to continuously cover government-owned lands suitable for agriculture, with the issuance of Executive Order Number 75 in 2019, which our Secretary have earlier mentioned. All departments, bureaus, offices, and instrumentalities of the government are directed to identify lands owned by government, devoted to or suitable for agriculture, for distribution to qualified beneficiaries under CARP. Under EO 75, the DAR is mandated to provide central direction and coordination with the other government agencies and instrumentalities to ensure its effective implementation. Slide number 8. Agrarian Justice Delivery Program. The primary objective of Agrarian Justice Delivery as a core function of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program is to arrive at a speedy, effective, fair, and just resolution of all agrarian disputes that hamper the land acquisition and distribution process. The provision of legal assistance to our farmer beneficiaries remains a major task of the DAR. We provide legal services in the settlement of disputes involving small farmers, particularly to our agrarian reform beneficiaries, to ensure continuous ownership of their awarded lands. Agrarian justice delivery is classified into two components. First, agrarian legal assistance and agrarian law implementation, and second, adjudication services. These are all part of the quasi-judicial powers of DAR under Section 50 of RA 6657 as amended. In general, agrarian legal assistance is concerned with the administrative resolution of agrarian law implementation cases. Agrarian law implementation, or an ALI case, is an administrative matter involving disputes or controversies such as the identification of beneficiaries, exemption from coverage, and the like in the implementation of agrarian reform laws, which falls under the exclusive jurisdiction of the Secretary or her authorized representative, which in our case is the regional directors. This shall also include ALI cases covered by special administrative orders, such as but not limited to cases for exemption or exclusion from coverage and conversion. It also includes referral cases and the issuance of land transfer clearance in proper cases. This will also include representation of agrarian reform beneficiaries, farmer beneficiaries by DAR lawyers and legal officers before the regular courts and the DAR Adjudication Board. In 2018, our legal team at the Department of Agrarian Reform started to adopt the swift and efficient delivery of legal cases, which aims to resolve pending cases, thereby clearing the backlog in the dockets. The Secretary, our Secretary John Castriciones, gave a directive that henceforth newly received cases should expeditiously be acted upon and resolved in a period not exceeding 1 year. From slide number 9, from January to June 2020, a total of 19,689 cases under the Agrarian Legal Assistance Program were resolved by DAR. This is 76% of the total caseload of 25,743 cases. This leaves DAR with a total of 6,000 cases still for resolution until the end of 2020. In terms of adjudication of cases, a total of 6,270 cases were resolved by the DAR Adjudication Board and its various salas out of 9,408 cases. The performance resulted to a resolution rate of 67% for the same period, with a total of 3,138 cases pending for resolution. The cumulative, slide number 10, the cumulative accomplishment in agrarian justice delivery as of June 2020 totals to 1,266,383 cases resolved by the DAR under its agrarian law implementation program. This is equivalent to a resolution rate of 99.5% of its 1,272,437 caseload. As of the end of June 2020, there only remains a total of 6,054 cases for resolution nationwide. For the same period, the DAR Adjudication Board and its salas in the provinces and the regions were able to resolve 589,854 cases out of its 592,992 caseload, or a 99.5% case resolution rate. Only a total of 3,138 cases are for resolution as of the end of June 2020 nationwide. Slide number 11. Agrarian Reform Program Beneficiaries Development and Sustainability Program. As a poverty reduction program, one of the goals of the CARP is to transform the agrarian reform areas into vibrant and self-reliant communities that shall serve as engines of rural agro-industrialization. Thus, the bigger challenge lies in sustaining the gains in land redistribution. The goal is translated into three bottom-line objectives. Number one, to improve the productivity of awarded lands. Number two, to increase household incomes. And number three, to promote the well-being of ARBs and their households. To achieve these objectives, the DAR implements the Agrarian Reform Program Beneficiaries Development and Sustainability Program, or the ARB-DSP. This program will ensure that a systematic and synchronized delivery of essential support services and facilities are provided to ARBs and help them maximize the productivity of distributed lands as well as harness the potentials of rural communities. Slide number 12. Among the provisions of the Carper Law is the establishment of agrarian reform communities, or ARCs, in the countryside where there are CARP-covered areas. The ARC is part of DAR's strategy in delivering support services to agrarian reform beneficiaries, in propelling development in agrarian reform areas. The strategy of establishing ARCs will continue to be the focus of DAR's development and support services interventions to be able to reach out to more ARBs in the countryside. As of June 30, 2020, there are 2,229 agrarian reform communities established and approved by the DAR, covering 16 regions. This slide shows the distribution of the approved ARCs nationwide. Slide number 13. The provision of support services to our ARBs are being coursed through their organizations, or the ARB organizations, or ARBOs. The ARBs are given assistance by the DAR to organize or for them to join in existing ARB organizations. These ARB organizations are given assistance for them to have the ability to manage and utilize the interventions that will be extended to them by the DAR. The assistance being provided includes capacity development, facilitating access to needed services to its members, enterprise development, market linkaging and engagement, agri-extension with farm input support, as well as support facilities, farm machinery equipment, and implements. The provisions of this assistance is given to them until they reach the desired maturity level, where their organization can be self-sustaining. This is to ensure that there will be accountable officers of the ARB organizations who will monitor the proper use of resources extended to them and encourage participation of their members to sustain the development of their organization. Nationwide, there is a total of 5,290 agrarian reform beneficiaries organizations assisted by the DAR, which serve as conduits in the delivery of support services to the agrarian reform beneficiaries and other community members in agrarian reform areas. Slide number 14.
Yusek, I have to cut
Mr.
you,
Chair.
sorry. Anyway, the members of the House has already been furnished all of this presentation, and since we are pressed for time already, we will move on to the interpellators.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Yusek Panggulayan. Also present in the Zoom meeting is Secretary John Castriciones. So we will now go to the interpellators, and the chair would like to remind the members of the House present here and in the Zoom meeting that we have a 3-minute rule for your questioning. So the 3-minute rule is the time that you will consume when you are asking the question. But the answers of our guests will not consume your 3 minutes. So we will now start with our interpellators for this budget briefing of the Department of Agrarian Reform. We will start with the minority. Yes, Congressman Zarate.
Short interjection lang. Before the interpellation, may we just ask Yusek Pangulayan, magkano yung hiningi nilang budget sa DBM at magkano lang yung inapprove? as reflected here.
Okay.
Just for the record, Mr. Chair.
Okay, please respond, Yusek Pangulayan.
Yes, Mr. Chair, our Undersecretary for Finance, Undersecretary Junjun Malsi will be addressing the query of Congressman Zarate, please.
With the permission of the Honorable Chair, Your Honors. The department originally asked the Department of Budget and Management for 32,966,000,000 proposed budget for 2021, Your Honors. But we were given a budget ceiling of only 8,850,769,000, Your Honors.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we go to the list of interpellators. We will, as tradition, will start with the minority. The chair would like to recognize the first interpellator, Representative Argel Kabatbat. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr.
And before that, please, to all members of the House present, please address the chair, and also to the guests present. Please wait for the chair to recognize you before responding. Thank you. This is for our orderly meeting, considering that we have members in Zoom, we have other members, if I'm not mistaken, in the chat room, and of course, those who are authorized present here today. So, the chair again would like to recognize from the minority, Representative Argel Kabatbat. You are recognized.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nakita ko lang po dito sa slide number 27, isa sa mga proposal ninyo na mapondohan ay yung Converge and Mega Farms. Can you explain further on this?
Yusek Pangulayan, you will respond.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, may I refer the query of Congressman Kabatbat to Undersecretary Emily Padilla.
The chair would like to recognize Yusek Emily Padilla.
With your kind permission, Mr. Chair, the Mega Farms is a proposal that was submitted by the Office of Undersecretary Dave Ero. No? This is part of the Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program. So, if I may ask Yusek Ero to expound on this project. Thank you very much.
The chair would like to recognize Yusek David Ero.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair, and to all the honorable members of this committee, and including the participants of this budget briefing. The Mega Farms proposal or project actually is a concept pertaining to specializing certain crops for a particular area. We would like to introduce that in our project, including the split project, meaning the parcelization of collective CLOAs. We are having this idea that around 50 hectares contiguous land will be developed into a specialized crops production. For example, one area in Central Luzon, we will be targeting 50 hectares, around 50 hectares. That is the list. Then we will infuse all the support services in that 50 hectares land. We can develop the rice production in that area by infusing high technology, form of tractors, etc. And the important thing there is that we will be organizing the agrarian reform beneficiaries in that area into a cooperative. Now, these mega farms now can be a convergence of all different agencies, but it can also be open to local or foreign investors. That's the initial concept, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek Ero. The chair would like to recognize again Congressman Kabatbat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Na-capture po yung attention ko nitong Mega Farms dahil bago po tayo manalo sa eleksyon. Ito po yung gustong-gusto natin na mangyari. Na kadalasang criticism sa CARP, sa Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program ay hinati-hati mo yung lupa na walan ng economies of scale.
Di man sa buong trabaho.
Ah,
May hapdos na namatian. Di man alam kung paano.
Mr. Chair, may I ask to mute the other
Yes, Comsec, can you please ask our technical team to mute all Zoom microphones so that we will not be interrupted. So please, again, Congressman
Yes.
Kong Kabatbat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yun nga po, kadalasan na criticism sa CARP, hinati-hati natin yung lupa na wala na economies of scale. So kailangan po natin maibalik ito into consolidated farms para mabawi yung economies of scale at buhusan natin ng kompletong tulong yung mga magsasaka. Ang programa po namin ay mechanized, organized, and subsidized farming, Mr. Chair. Kaya naman po, sana mapondohan po natin to, Mr. Chair. And ako, I would move, Mr. Chair, to accommodate the increase in the budget of DAR in the amount of 5 billion para po ma-accommodate itong pilot project na to. Dahil kung uutang po tayo eventually for this project, ito po yung mga makabuluhang project na dapat ipangutang. Dahil maganda po ang balik nito sa ating mga magsasaka. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Vice Chairperson Aresco.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Napakaganda po ng layunin ng agrarian reform to transfer incomes from the former landowners to the farmers. But over the decades, pababa ng pababa ang income ng mga farming families, and nakikita ko po sa probinsya namin ay hindi na po nagtatanim ang mga farmer beneficiaries ng land reform. So I support the motion of Congressman Kabatbat regarding the initiation of a mega farm. Sana po ay nakikita po natin ang mega farm.
Anyway, Congressco, we will proceed first.
Yes, Mr. Chair, i-reiterate ko lang yung aking motion. Let us accommodate the 5 billion increase in the budget of the Department of Agrarian Reform in the amount of 5 billion for the mega farms. And I think even the Tulay ng Pangulo program to be implemented and launched by the Foreign Assisted and Special Projects Office, Mr. Chair, para sa ating pilot project and eventually para maka-access po tayo ng foreign loans or loans for this remarkable project.
Anyway, Kong Kabatbat, we will take your proposal at the proper time so that we can move on with the budget briefing. We will go on to that.
Thank you, Mr.
So,
Chair.
the chair notes of the proposal of Congressman Argel Kabatbat, and we all know he's showing his concern to our farmers, particularly for the additional request for the Department of Agrarian Reform. Salamat po, Congressman Kabatbat.
Thank
So
you,
we
Mr.
will
Chair.
take that at the proper time.
Thank you, Mr.
Salamat.
Chair. If I may proceed with my other
Yes,
questions.
and time, you still have 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Please proceed,
Thank you.
Kong Kabatbat.
Thank you. Medyo marami po itong mga seemingly parochial issues ng ating mga local farmers. So instead of asking them one by one, I will enumerate as much as I can, although marami po ito, and ask for a commitment from the department. Unang-una po sa Bundok Peninsula, may mga coconut lumber traders dyan na pinagpuputol yung ating mga coconut trees at ang gamit lang nila ay iisang single permit. No? I would like the DAR to investigate and give us a report about this. Sa Sariaya naman po, tuloy-tuloy po ang ating distribution, implementation, and even support services such as farm-to-market roads. Kaya lang po, nare-reverse naman, nababawi sa kanila yung mga lupa nila. Sa Leyte, meron po mga private claimants dyan who were able to get their lands back dahil sa tulong na rin ng DAR. Dahil po pag nagme-mediate sila, parang ini-encourage nila yung farmers for balik saup or revert to the shared tenancy, which is against the policy of the department. I also wish the department to look into this instances, Mr. Chair. Sa Sikogon din po, gusto ko rin malaman, ano ba yung status ng petition nila for reinstatement of compulsory acquisition pagkatapos po ng hindi nagtagumpay na compromise and framework agreement with Ayala Sideco. And pati po sa Hacienda Dolores, sa Porac, Pampanga, kumusta po yung kaso na isinampa ng mga magsasaka dyan laban sa Ayala Land. 300 families po ang na-eject dyan, Mr. Chair. So please give us the report. And also, pati status po ni Barangay Captain Antonio Tolentino, yung farmer leader natin dyan na 71 years old na pinagkakasuhan ng kung ano-ano, katulad ng carnapping, ng kidnapping, ang tanda-tanda na po nito. Medyo nangangamoy po ng harassment suit eh. And pati po yung status ng mga magsasaka sa Nemesyotan Estate, sa Echefawa, magsasaka sa Negros, ang tagal-tagal na po niyan. Please, Mr. Chair, pati po yung sa samahan ng mamamayan ng Alas Asin sa Maribeles, pati po sa lupa, sa dating lupa ng Paragon Paper Mills sa Hermosa, Bataan. Mr. Chair, please, I would like to ask the commitment from the Secretary. Upuan po natin itong lahat ng mga ito. Dahil ito po yung mga klase ng tao na isang pitik lang, pwede na maghawak ng baril to eh. Dahil sa araw-araw na paggising nila, lagi na lang silang na de-deprive ng justice ng kanilang lupa, laging napagkakaitan. So, please give us time, ayusin na po natin to, tapusin na po natin to. Hindi ito magandang legacy sa administrasyon sa leadership ni Secretary Castriciones na yung ilang dekada na pinaghihintay ng mga magsasaka, hindi natin matatapos during this administration. So if it will take 1 week, 2 weeks, tapusin natin lahat ito, please do so. My office is willing to help. And yun lang, Mr. Chair, I think my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Congressman Kabatbat. The Chair would like to request the Department of Agrarian Reform to submit to the Committee on Appropriations the reports requested by Congressman Kabatbat. Please do so.
Mr. Chair, we will be complying with that instruction.
Yes, thank you very much, Yusek Pagulayan. Next, we will now move on to the next, from the majority, next interpellator. The Chair would like to recognize Kong Chikiting Sagarbaria.
Okay, Mr. Chair. Good morning, maayong buntag natong tanan. Good morning to our guest, fellow Congressman. Well, I have so much questions, but I don't know where to begin. But I'd rather start looking into the budget for 2021. Anybody from there can answer this question. I see that the budget for 2021 is only 8.8 billion pesos. And out of this budget, personal services goes to about 60 to 65%, which is 5 billion. So how much money is available for support services, taking into consideration that you made mention on page 12 that about 500 hectares are left to be distributed nationwide until 2022. Out of this, how much have you distributed 2020 or will be distributing 2020? And in other words, we will be hitting about close to 100% land distribution in 2022. So it seems like we have not placed enough money for support services to help the agrarian reform beneficiaries to be able to stand up, especially now, the problems we have in COVID. So, well, how much money is placed for support services on our 2021 budget? That's a question, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, may
Yes, Yusek Pangulayan.
Undersecretary Emily Padilla and Undersecretary Junjun Malsi will be responding to the query of the good congressman, Mr. Chair.
Yes, before Yusek Padilla and will reply to that, the Chair would like to recognize the Honorable El Rey Villaferte, Deputy Speaker, and Senior Deputy Majority Leader, also present, Honorable Boying Remulla. So, Yusek Padilla, you may now respond to the query of Congressman Sagarbaria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For 2021 budget, no, share of agrarian reform, beneficiary development and sustainability program, we have only about 8.3% of the total budget share. Our share is just about 8.3%, no. And this is divided into supervision and management, no, for 93 million, and for social infrastructure building for 118 million, and the economic the enterprise development and economic support, or EDES, gets 228.763 million, and for the climate resilient farm productivity support, we get 301 million for a total of 741,528,000 for 2021 budget. That is our share, Your Honor, for the 8.5 budget of DAR. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Yusek Padilla. Congressman Sagarbarria.
No, Mr. Chair, it is very clear that not enough money is really spent as support services that is going to go directly to agrarian reform beneficiaries. Imagine X amount of pesos will be for use again for personal services and very little amount for infrastructure. But how about helping directly the agrarian reform beneficiaries, that they will be able to develop, that they will be able to sustain what is expected of them to produce, that is food, the food that we need today to be more or less self-sufficient. So, in other words, it is not enough. We should not be focusing on support services directly to the farmers for them to be able to produce the food that is needed today. We have been importing food. We've never been self-sufficient, and we're almost complete, 100%, in distributing land to the landless. What is happening now? There's not enough food in the country. So I think we should more be focused now on getting resources directly given to the farm beneficiaries for them to be able to produce food. In agriculture, this is agriculture to produce food. So we will be able to at least be self-sufficient in food. So with a major budget given to support services, we will not even be able to touch even the tip of the iceberg. So, Mr. Chair, so I think something has got to be done by the committee on the amount of support services that should be given to the agrarian reform. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Congressman Chikiting Sagarbarria, also Vice Chairman of this committee. Next, we will move on to the next interpellator from the minority, Representative Arlene Brosas. After Representative Arlene Brosas, is Deputy Speaker Villapuerte. So, Kong Arlene.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, diretso na po sa tanong, anong status ng implementation of the Administrative Order Number 2 Series of 2019 or the personalization of the CCLO was?
Who will reply from the Department of Agrarian Reform?
Mr. Chair, in response to the query of the good Congresswoman, we request Undersecretary David Ero to respond to the query, Mr. Chair.
Yusek Davidero, please respond.
Yes, Mr. Chair, but I beg to defer your honor, Mr. Chair, because actually this is the project of Undersecretary Benny Cruz, who is at the Belmonte Hall. May we request your honor that will be the one to...
Yes.
He's at the...
He's online now? He's on Zoom?
But, Mr. Chair, Undersecretary Bernie Cruz is on Zoom. He is the chairman of the split project.
The chair would like to recognize Undersecretary Bernie Cruz. Please respond to the query of Congresswoman Arlene Brosas.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I would like to respond that the the project which has been approved by the World Bank. It's a loan for the what we call the split program. There's a loan agreement that was signed July 24. Okay. But the loan agreement has not been effective yet. So actually, the project has not been officially started. And we have a budget for 2020 that was I asked Congress before for a congressional initiative to give us 500 million for the initial steps to start the project. But unfortunately, the Department of Budget and Management has not released the money yet because according to them, they will just wait for the loan effectivity and make that 500 million for the 2020 budget as part of the local government counterpart. So we actually have started initial inventory of this collective CLOAS. We coordinated with LRA, Land Registration Authority, to get all the copies of the collective CLOAS, and fortunately we already have more than 30% of the total of the collective CLOAS, which is almost 1.3 million hectares all over the Philippines, Mr. Chair. So that's the status of the project as of now.
Okay, Representative Arlene, please proceed to your next question.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Okay po dito, ibig sabihin, tumutang tayo pero wala pang nangyari, Mr. Chair. Tumutang tayo ng 473.5 million US dollars na di 4.6 billion sa World Bank at wala pang nangyayari. Kaya Mr. Chair, sinasabi nila dito, no, na farmed or operated in an integrated manner, collectively farmed or operated in an integrated manner. Ano ba po bang ibig sabihin nito?
Okay.
Ibig po bang sabihin nito, Mr. Chair, na ang mga nag-engage sa joint venture agreement, hindi ba sila kasama sa ipaparcelize?
Mr. Chair, permission to speak po.
Yes, Yusek Panggulayan.
In response to the query po, Madam, Mr. Chair, the parcelization project is focusing on breaking up the collective CLOAS issued by the department to the Agrarian Reform beneficiaries. In the past years, in the previous administrations, the goal then was to issue collective CLOAS because one, it is provided by RA 6657 as amended, and secondly, there was then an effort on the part of the department to comply with the CARPER deadline of 2014. Having said that, there was a time that the majority of all titles issued were collective CLOAS. The split project will ensure that the farmers will be able to receive their individual titles upon the breakup of this collective CLOAS. Now,
Can be answered with yes or no? Can be answered with yes or no?
with regard, Madam, the agribusiness venture arrangements, definitely the CLOAS will be parcelized regardless as to whether there is an agriventure arrangement or not. AVAs are subject to approval by PARC, but all CLOAS, collective CLOAS will be parcelized. It will be broken up, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Representative Arlene.
Mr. Chair, tinatanong po natin yan kasi iniisip po natin, meron pang mga indivisible titles, 140,484 awarded to farmer beneficiaries who have preferred to keep them unchanged. These are farmer associations and cooperatives who which are successfully engaged in joint venture agreements with multinational corporations and private investors. Ngayon po, kung sinasabi nila na isasama nila ito, wala pong ibig sabihin, hindi po sinama dito, no? Yung mga meron pang mga nito ay kung papasok sa mas madaling pumasok sa joint venture agreement ang mga magsasaka. So therefore, mas madali silang ipasok sa joint venture agreements kapag nag-CLOA, pag nag-split tayo. Kaya, Mr. Chair, minamadali itong mga parcelization na ito at may malaking budget sa gitna ng pandemya, nag-worry po kami na bumogin ito yung mga unities ng mga magsasaka. No? And, Mr. Chair, may question pa kaugnay sa may mga kasa ba na nakansela o maaari pa rin bang makansela ang CLOA dahil sa parcelization, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, permission to speak.
Before you answer that, Yusek Pangulayan, Rep. Arlene, you have already consumed 2 minutes and 56 seconds. So probably this will be your last question unless you want to wrap up. Yusek Pangulayan, please respond.
Mr. Chair, before he responds, Mr. Chair, maaari po bang mag-second round for questioning, Mr. Chair?
Yes, no problem. As long as we finish the first round, then you can have your name listed again for the second round. Wala pong problema. So, Yusek Pangulayan.
In response, Mr. Chair, to the query, ang pagtatatag po ng
Itagpag po rin anong pakinabang yung mga manggagawa pang-kultura mga manggagawa sa magsasaka ng walang sarili lupa dito.
Yes. Kong Arlene, the chair now gives the floor to Yusek Pangulayan. Please respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ang pagtatatag po ng collective CLOA ayon sa Batas RA 6657 as amended ay nakaayon po sa objektibong kondisyon ng lupa po kung mas makabuti po sa mga magsasaka na kolektibo po ang kanilang CLOA o kaya naman po ay kung kagustuhan mismo ng mga magsasaka na mag-collective CLOA sila. Ito pong usapin ng parcelization ay nakaangkop pa po doon sa mga magsasaka, mga Agrarian Reform beneficiaries na gusto na nilang maghiwa-hiwalay ang kanilang collective CLOA. Doon po kami nakatutok at ito po ang nakasali. Hindi po namin isasali dito yung mga samahan po ng mga magsasaka ARBs na kooperatiba o organisasyon na mas nais nilang mag-collective CLOA para po sa kabutihan ng kanilang hanap buhay. Yun po.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek Pangulayan. Thank you also, Representative Brosas. Next, the chair will now recognize from the Majority Deputy Speaker, El Rey Villaporte.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ano lang napansin ko lang talaga ang budget ng DAR is 8 billion for 2021. Is that correct? Can you confirm? So ano lang po, nakakalungkot lang kasi dahil based on the records I've studied, 4.8 million hectares na po ang na-award ng DAR. Then involving 2.8 million agrarian reform beneficiaries of more than 2,000 ARCs. Ang tanong ko lang kasi, ano ba ang programa ninyo para makatulong po dito sa mga beneficiaries na to? Briefly lang po.
Mr. Chair, permission.
Yes, Yusek Padilla.
Yes, Mr. Chair, ang ating pong Department of Agrarian Reform, matapos na ipamahagi ang lupa, no? And even during the identification of the ARBs to be awarded CLOAs, no? Pumapasok na po, Mr. Chair, ang Agrarian Reform Beneficiary Development and Sustainability Program. Ito po yung programa na kung saan tinutulungan natin ang ating mga ARBs, whether individual or collective, at yung kanilang mga organisasyon, no?
Mr. Chair, maybe our resource person can just indicate magkano ba ang nakaalat for 2021 para tulungan ng ARC-ARBs.
Okay, for 2021, no, I just mentioned, Mr. Chair, that 741 million po ang naka-allocate sa agrarian sa ARB-DSP. At iyon po ay hinahati sa 4 na programa under ARB-DSP yung pong ating social infrastructure building kung saan ito po yung ginagamit natin para sa pag-oorganisa ng ating mga agrarian reform beneficiaries, at yung po ito pong EDES o Enterprise Development and Economic Support, and then yung climate resilient farm productivity. Bahagi po yung supervision, management, and monitoring, no?
Anyway, Mr. Chair, ang point ko lang kasi ang gusto nating tulungan 2.8 million beneficiaries tapos ang budget 700 million. Kumbaga isang tulay lang yan eh. Ang punto ko lang po, Mr. Chair, napakaliit naman talaga ng budget ng DAR. Napakalaki ng responsibilidad, napakaliit ng pondo. Nagbigay sila sa amin ng proposal, yung mega farms. Ako, sang-ayon po ako dyan. Yung concept nila sa mega farms is kino-consolidate po ang mga farmland owned by the beneficiaries into a 50 hectare para we will evolve them from a subsistence farming to commercial farming. So, Mr. Chair, I would like to put on record, and I hope our colleagues can support. Ako, I will push, strongly push, na mapondohan po itong mega farming concept of at least 3 to 5 billion, Mr. Chair, para naman matulungan ng ating mga farmer. Kasi, sabi ko nga, ang tulong nila is only 700 million, isang tulay lang po yan. At kung gusto natin maging self-sufficient po ang ating production, dapat tulungan natin ang DAR because ang reality is yung mga farmer identified nila. So secondly, napakaganda po ng programa ng tulay sa Pangulo noon. Nag-umpisa po yan sa panahon ni FBR. Tinuloy po yan sa panahon ni ERAP, ni GMA. Ang tanong ko lang, even si Presidente Aquino ba? Ang tanong ko lang, meron ba po tayong yung bridge program under DAR now? Meron ba?
Yusek
Pangulayan.
Can we request Undersecretary Bernie Cruz to respond to the query?
Yes, Yusek Bernie Cruz. Please unmute your microphone, Yusek Bernie Cruz.
Mr. Chair, opo, ang ano ko lang po, magkakasunod po yung tanong kanina nila Congressman Brosas at saka sila Kong Elway Villaferte. Actually, sumulat po talaga ako kila Speaker, kila Congressman, kasi po, yung katulad nung sinasabi kanina nila Congresswoman Brosas na natatakot sila na baka mawala yung lupa. Katulad po nung kinakatakot ko rin, no, personally, kaya kami nag-conceptualize ng mega farms. Kasi nga, marami po yung mga napamahagi nating lupa ay karamihan na bebenta, nasasanla, kasi hindi po sapat talaga yung support na nabibigay natin doon sa ating mga magsasaka. Ang sinasabi ko nga kila Congressman Tejada, Mr. Chair, ay it's time na dapat baguhin natin yung pananaw. Hindi mali yung CARP, pero nung nagsimula po kasi tayo sa CARP, 34 years ago, nag-export po tayo ng lahat ng mga, nag-export tayo ng bigas, nag-export tayo ng asukal. Tapos after 34 years, hindi na tayo makapaggisa kung hindi tayo mag-import ng bawang, sibuyas at saka bigas, no? Lahat ng halos ng agricultural product. So, ang tingin po kasi natin dito, parang yung nangyari sa CARP, at that time, siguro tama siya, subsistence farming. So, mabubuhay yung magsasaka. Pero yung productivity natin para buhayin yung ating population, para magkaroon ng food security yung ating bansa, parang nawala. Kasi yung commercial farming, yung commercial quantity, nawala nung natilad-tilad natin yung lupa. So yun po yung gusto nating isagot doon sa tanong kanina ng mga kagalang-galang na congressman. Ngayon na magpa-parcelize ulit tayo ng lupa, magiging individual yung CLOA, para hindi po ito mawala, nag-conceptualize po kami ng mega farm na i-consolidate natin sila, magiging open ito na magkaroon po ng mga contracts or tayo magkaroon ng para magkaroon po ng commercial farming na kasama yung magsasaka natin. So, sinasabi ko nga rin po sa kanila na yung Department of Agriculture has been there. Diba? Pero ang laki ng budget. Actually, yung rice and corn nila na isang program lang is equivalent to 1 year na budget ng DAR. Kami po sa DAR, kami lang yung hindi devolved. Hanggang munisipyo, hanggang barangay, mayroon kaming BARMM, mayroon kaming Barangay Agrarian Reform Council. Pero hindi ho namin ito na-utilize mabuti kasi yung budget po namin napakaliit. Parang ang laki ng pinaspasweldo namin, yung operational budget namin ang liit. So sa mega farms po, in short, parang ang gusto nating mangyari is ibalik natin yung commercial farming na kasama yung ating mga magsasaka para sila talaga umunlad at umunlad din yung pansakahan natin na magkaroon tayo ng food security. So pinagdugtong ko po, actually yung sulat ko, hinihingi ko na parang habang pinaparcelize natin, ino-organize din natin sila at nagpa-piloting tayo ng commercial farming natin. So yun po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Yusek Bernie Cruz.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, maybe we can ask Bernie Cruz magkano ba yung estimate niya na minimum requirement para itong programang Mega Farm ng DAR?
Yes, Yusek Bernie Cruz. How much po for the mega farms? Magkano pa kailangan?
Mr. Chair, ang initial po na parang estimate namin for piloting is 5 billion dun sa aking sulat at dun sa aking pinadala na parang concept paper na actually may slide presentation po na pinadala ko.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gusto ko lang sana sana mas lalo pang maliwanagan ng ating mga kasama dahil I think this is a concept that is worth trying because as mentioned, we used to export produce agricultural products. However, yung intention po ng CARP maganda naman but 34 years after, hindi po umasenso ang ating production, ang ating mga farmer as compared sa Thailand, Vietnam. So, I think this is worth considering sa mga kasama natin. I-consider ito, maybe we can try to allot 3 billion for whatever we can to support. But yung next question ko kasi is yung sa tulay ng Pangulo. Paki-explain lang kung ano yung current program at kung ito ba ay continuation ng dating programa ng ang Aquino administration, kaya meron. Gusto ko malaman at gusto ko lang po malaman, Mr. Chair, kung ilan ba ang ongoing in terms of linear meter construction sa tulay at ilan pa ba talaga ang pangangailangan dahil I really would like to push for a bridge program para marinig po ng ating mga kasama because I feel that each province needs at least 10 to 15 bridges. That's easily 1,000 bridges for the whole country. So gusto ko lang matulungan na maliwanagan ng ating mga kasama dito na ano po ang status ng bridge program, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yusek, Pangulayan.
Mr. Chair, may I request Undersecretary Bernie Cruz to respond to the query, please?
Yes, the Chair recognizes Yusek Bernie Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Opo, gusto ko lang ipaabot na yung tulay ng Pangulo program has lapsed, no? Nagkaroon ho ng problema yan before, pero ginawa ho namin ng paraan kasi sayang yung mga bridging materials na nandyan. So, dun po sa unang project na yon, there are completed, no, na 50 bridges. 20 yung ongoing at 138 yung nasa pre-construction period, which is total of 188 bridges lang yan, Mr. Chair. No, pero ang ating pangangailangan more than 3,000 bridges based doon sa mga request nakakarating sa atin. Actually, marami po tayong mga kaibigan sa House of Representatives na sa kanilang mga districts ay marami po talaga ang humihingi or nagre-request na magkaroon ng bridge, no? Kasi doon sa mga areas, lalo na yung mga na didistribute nating mga bagong lupa ngayon, kailangan po ng infrastructure at napakabilis pong itayo nitong bridge na to. Hindi katulad ng mga concrete bridges natin, pero ang kanyang pagkakagawa ay comparable at mas matibay pa, no? Actually, yung bridge natin ngayon na ginagawa, na tinutuloy is parang ang kanyang material is parang yung the same quality ng Eiffel Tower. So, yung durability po talaga niya is napakaganda. So, ganun po yung status ng bridge program natin. At kung, Mr. Chair, gusto natin
Mr. Chair,
talaga...
I will wrap up my questioning. Gusto ko lang malaman ilan linear meter or ilan tulay pa para lang malaman natin mga kasama.
Yes, Yusek Bernie Cruz.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Based on request or need, Yusek Bernie, Mr. Chair, ilan pa bang tulay ang kailangan in terms of linear meter or in terms of location? Are you saying 3,000 tulay ba? Is that correct?
As per request po, doon sa ating mga nakukuha naming mga request, ay more than 3,000 na po na mga tulay. Wala lang po kaming kasi kailangan namin ng pondo para i-visit ito at tignan, i-validate. Ang problema namin is wala rin kaming pondo to do that.
Mr. Chair, narinig natin mga kasama, sana I think this body is committed to help the DAR. First, yung mega farms nyo, we will do our best to fund this 2021. Secondly, wala naman sigurong magkokontra doon sa bridge, and I hope that that's normally a foreign assisted program. I think gawan nyo na yung papeles, gawan nyo na ng need, and Congress is here to help. So salamat, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat. I will do my next questioning on my second round. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker El Rey Villafuerte. After Deputy Speaker El Rey Villafuerte, the Chair will now recognize from the minority Representative Kulyamat. After Representative Kulyamat, I will recognize from the majority the SDML Remulla. So, Congresswoman Kulyamat.
Sarap dito, okay na ako rito.
Salamat, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, diretso lang po ako sa aking mga tanong.
Yes po, please proceed.
Mr. Chair, batay sa nilahad kanina, nasa 48 million hektarya na ang naipamahagi ng DAR sa ilalim ng CARP. Ilan po dito ang nasa kamay pa at aktwal na sinasaka ng mga magsasakang beneficiaryo, Mr. Chair?
Yes, from the Department of Agrarian Reform, who will Yusek Panggulayan? Or Yusek Ero?
Yusek David Ero is being requested to respond to the question.
Yes, Yusek David Ero.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on our data, Mr. Chair, around 2.4, but that is a raw data, Your Honor. And that's the reason why we have this program, the Mustasaka program, headed by Undersecretary G. Orogo, just to determine and really ascertain the current status of our farmers based on the 2.9 million beneficiaries, Your Honor. And I think we are also asking for the budget for that Mustasaka, but unfortunately, I think it was turned down by the DBM again, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congresswoman Kapemya Kuyamat, for your next question.
Mr. Chair, ilan porsyento po, no? Ilang porsyento ito sa kabuang bilang ng naipamahagi, Mr. Chair?
Yusek Ero?
Roughly, Mr. Chair, it's around 10% lang po, Mr. Chair. Or, naglalaro po ng 8 to 9%, Mr. Chair. And as I said a while ago, Mr. Chair, we are asking this committee that to support us regarding our Mustasaka program headed by G. Orogo. Because if we can have a budget for that, then we can really ascertain how many farmers are indeed affected by what the good congressman were asking.
Okay. Congresswoman Kuyamat.
Ibig sabihin, Mr. Chair, malaking bahagi ng ipamahagi ng lupa ang wala na sa kamay ng mga magsasaka. At ibig sabihin, Mr. Chair, hindi natin alam kung ang mga lupaing na ipamahagi sa ilalim ng TARP ay nasa magsasaka pa ba o malamang ay bumalik na sa kontrol ng mga Panginoong may lupa, arendero o mga negosyante at kino-convert na sa residential o commercial na lupain.
Mr. Chair.
Sana, Mr. Chair, sana ay hindi matulad sa Hacienda Luisita na nasa 80 or 90% pa lang pala ng lupang pinamahagi ang mga nasa arendero o wala na sa kontrol ng mga magsasakang benepisyaryo. Sa datos ninyo ng Agrarian Reform Beneficiary Installation, as of August 31, nasa 28% lamang ng target ang actual na na-install. Bababa ito, ibig sabihin, sa nabigyan ng COA, kakaunti ang bilang ng mga magsasakang actual na nai-install sa lupa. Mr. Chair.
Okay. From DAR. Yusek Orogo.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, may I be recognized? With regards to data, current database ng DAR, wala po kami sa kasalukuyan na updated, okay? But meron kaming raw data na sinasabi na 2.8 million. Meron kaming kasalukuyang ginagawa, no? Ito yung tinatawag naming DDS or DAR Database System. We have already conceptualized the program. It's already installed. If you want, you can, I can give you your access so that everybody can see it. But the problem is, current server po ng ating database, hindi kayang makapag-install ng big data, no? Very limited because our server, nabili pa po ito noong 2009. No? So currently, we're requesting, no, DBM or our office, no, to at least finance this the equipment that is needed. So we will also, no, and we plan to, no, mag-conduct ng Kumusta Saka. Kumusta Saka will profile everything, no. Pag sinabi po namin na everything, mula po yan sa profile ng isang magsasaka, gaano kalaki yung lupa niya, yung lupa ba niya, ano yung itinatanim, siya pa ba yung current na nagtitil ng land niya, at ito ba ay naipamana na niya o naibenta na niya, or gaano pa kalaki yung lupang naka-allocate for every kind of crops, no, na pinamahagi nung 30 years ago, like rice, corn, coconut, etc. And also, makikita po natin yung mapa, yung location, at anong mga suporta ang naibigay sa bawat magsasaka sa 2.8 na yan. But the current situation of the DAR database system ay hindi po kaya yung big data na yan. So right now, meron kaming incapacitated yung aming kakayanan, no? So yung tanong po ni ni Madam, hindi po kayang sagutin right now. But the current Arbold movement, no, yung ginawa pong project under the support services during the pandemic, we were able to determine, no, dahil 300,000 lang po ito, 361,000 agrarian reform beneficiaries, na ipasok po namin sa datos, to, yung current active, no, and actual tillers pa rin naman po sila. So naipasok po namin ito sa database, but again, meron po kaming tawag dito, kakulangan pa rin na ipasok lahat ng datos, yung 361,000. Why? Because even at the regional level, may problem po tayo sa connection, may problem tayo sa a kind of facility nila so that they can transmit all the data that is required by our board. No? Marami rin po yan kasi kasama pa rin dun yung crops na tinatanim nila, size ng land nila, even the location, and kaya nating makita on the dot, no? Kasi we will be using Google, imamapa po ito, at makikita rin natin yung contour ng area. So, yun po yung malaking dilemma ngayon ng aming departamento. That's why I submitted a proposal on tinatawag po namin Kumusta Saka, although proportion lang dito yung kailangan pa naming equipment, no? But the entire 2.8 million gusto po naming bisitahin para malaman na namin ilan pa rito yung katanungan po ng ating mahal na Congresswoman. Yun lamang po, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek Rogo. Representative Kuyamat, meron po kayong additional 3 minutes na galing po yung kay Kwan. Representative Ferdigaite, please proceed. You have another 3 minutes.
Batay sa mga datos na sinasabi, kailangan din talaga natin ang mga datos na yan upang malaman natin ang tunay na kalagayan ng ating mga magsasaka. Kaya sana makapagbigay mabigyan tayo ng datos na sinasabi ni Madam, sinabi ng sasalita, sorry. Mr. Chair, pwede bang yung mga datos na sinasabi kanina, pwede bang ano natin yan, mahingi?
Yes, the chair would like to request the Department of Agrarian Reform to furnish the Committee on Appropriations all the data as requested by Congresswoman Kuyamat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will comply with the instruction.
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Representative Kuyamat, please proceed.
Mr. Chair, sa presentasyon kaninong mayorya ang balance sa distribution na 92% o mahigit 400,000 hektarya ay private agricultural land. Kapansin-pansin, ang laki nito. Ano ang status ng mga malalaking private agri-lands? Bakit napakalaking bahagi ng pribadong lupain ang hindi pa naipamahagi? Mr. Chair.
Yes, Yusek Pangulayan, please respond.
Mr. Chair, Undersecretary David Ero will be responding to the query po.
Yes, the chair recognizes Yusek David Ero.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tungkol po sa katanungan ng ating mahal na representante, kung titignan natin, kaya malaki pa ho ang balanse nito dahil sa kada taon po ay nabibigyan lang tayo ng ceiling ng DBM kung ilan talaga ang pondo na maibibigay sa atin at doon tayo nagbabase ho kung ilan ang pwedeng i-cover natin na lupain. Kung titignan po sa ngayon, ang lumalabas po sa datos natin, maliliit na tipak na lang ho ang lupa ang talagang kino-cover natin dahil sa ayon ho sa prioridad ng implementasyon ng reforma sa lupa, ng batas ng reforma sa lupa, nauuna ho kasing nako-cover yung malalaking lupain. Ngayon po nag-range na lang po ng 10 to 15 hectares po ang ating kino-cover. Bagamat hindi natin may kakatwa po na isipin din na yung mga malalaking lupain na na-cover na natin dati, hanggang ngayon may mga konting usapin pa rin ho na yun naman po inaayos ng kagawaran. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Kuyamat, please continue.
Salamat, Mr. Chair. Napakarami pa ang pribadong lupa na hindi pa naipamahagi hanggang ngayon. Taliwas sa layunin ng mga reformang agraryo. At sa susunod ko po nga tanong po ay ginagarantiyahan sa ilalim ng batas ang mga karapatan ng mga maliliit na magsasaka sa ilalim ng konstitusyon, sa ilalim ng Magna Carta for Small Farmers' Rights at iba pa. Ngayon, napakaraming pinapatay na mga magsasaka mula 2016. Hindi bababa sa 216 magsasaka ang pinaslang matapos marigtag ng mga militar o kapulisan.
ang ilan ay mga naging benepisyaryo pa ng agrarian reform. Halimbawa, kay Nanay Nora Apiki ng Caraga. Ano po ang tindig ng DAR dito? Ito ba ay inyong kinukundina o wala po kayo na posisyon ninyo sa mga patayang ito, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, permission to speak po.
Yes, Yusek Pangulan.
Doon po sa katanungan po ng mahal nating representante, kinokondena po ng kagawaran. Marina kinokondena po. Hindi ang pagpapaslang po, paggawa ng karahasan sa mga magsasaka. Lalo na po yung mga agrarian reform beneficiaries o yung kahit na po mga actual tillers. Hindi po namin gumagawa po kami ng paraan sa pamamagitan po ng agrarian legal assistance para matulungan po yung mga magsasaka na kinakailangan po dumulog sa aming tanggapan, mabigyan po sila ng tulong. May mga magsasaka po kami kasalukuyan mga tinutulungan sa iba't ibang bagay ng Pilipinas ukol po sa mga karahasang ito. Mga iba po ay naimbestigahan na po, yung mga iba naman po ay isinasampa po sa korte.
Okay, thank you, Yusek. So, Congresswoman Kulyamat, you have your last 30 seconds of the second
Mr.
3 minutes.
Maraming salamat po sa mensahe mula sa DAR. Sana po ay maging katulong namin ang Department of Agrarian Reform sa paghahanap ng hustisya sa mga magsasakang pinapaslang. At batay sa pwede bang humingi ng resulta sa mga investigasyon na ginagawa ng DAR, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Yusek Pangulan.
Ayo po sa minumungkay po ng representante, handa po kami magbigay ng ulat tungkol sa bagay na ito.
Okay. Last one, Representative Kulyamat. Last question po. Meron po ba? Meron pa?
Maraming salamat. Ano ang aktual na tulong na ibigay ng DAR sa mga magsasaka na naepektuhan ng pandemya?
Okay, Yusek Pangulayan. Then after answering that question, the chair will recognize Senior Deputy Majority Leader Remulla.
Mr. Chair, Undersecretary Emily Padilla will respond to the query po.
Yes,
Yusek Padilla.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yeah, in response to COVID-19 pandemic, yung DAR has come up with the Passover. Ito po yung programa na nilaunch namin nung Abril hanggang June. We call it Passover, our bold move for deliverance of our agrarian reform beneficiaries from COVID-19 pandemic. So it involves the refocusing and realignment of our budget of ARB DSP in the amount of 300 million to support the ARBs who are frontliners in the food security. Ito pong itong AR board na to, galing po ang pondo nito do sa continuing appropriation ng 2019 mula po sa social infrastructure building namin and then yung aming EDES. Pinagsama-sama po namin ito para makapag-respondi po kami doon sa ating mga agrarian reform beneficiaries. So, 4 po yung component nito. Number 1, yung R-Boosts, So, pamamagitan po ng R-Boost, this is our way of linking our agrarian reform beneficiary organization to market, So, during that time, the height of pandemic, we were able to secure that authority from the IATF to give us, to allow us to issue yung pong food pass, So, nakapag, po kami ng more or less 700 agrarian reform beneficiaries at nakapagbenta po kami ng malaki-laking halaga, para do sa ating po mga agrarian reform beneficiaries. Ating mga 762 million yung inabot po ng ating napagbilhan ng ating mga agrarian reform beneficiaries. And then second, yung pong RBOLD na ito ay may component na productivity assistance. So, naglagay po kami ng 200 million dyan, para ibigay sa ating mga agrarian reform beneficiaries at sila po yung ikinlaster namin, ang ating conduit dyan ay mga Agrarian Reform Beneficiary Organization. At sa ngayon po, kasalukuyan nilang ginagawa itong programa ito. Nagtatanim po sila ng nagbigay po kami ng seeds, fertilizer, herbicides, and mga farm tools. Yung pangatlo po ng under ARBOLD is the livelihood assistance to women in crisis situation. Nagbigay po kami dyan sa mga 1,200 women. Doon po sa component 2 ng ARBOLD, nagbigay po kami sa 90,000 plus na mga magsasaka. At yung pong pang-apat, yung aming food assistance to our agrarian reform beneficiaries, nakapagbigay po kami sa 126,000 during the height of pandemic. So yun po yung naging response namin in support of RA 11469.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek Padilla. Next, the chair would now recognize from the majority, Senior Deputy Majority Leader Boying Remulla.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ang dudulog ko sa inyo, yung isang problema sa lupain sa aming lalawigan, sa Cavite po. Nung ako po ay gobernador, meron hong lalaban na 2 kampo tungkol sa isang ARB land. No? Ito po ay lupang Saraiba, ang tawag nila lupang Saraiba sa Barangay Batas, Silang, Cavite, na ito po ay na-cover ng Operation Land Transfer noong 1970s and 80s. Nagtaka lang kami nung ang canceled title ng Saraiba Land Holding dito sa Barangay Batas, Silang, Cavite, ay nabuhay muli. At kahit kansilado na dapat siya sa proseso ng batas, ito ay naging ay ibinenta sa isang Chinese company na ngayon may 100 security guard naroon ngayon sa Silang. Ang kabilang kampo naman na kalaban nila, yung ARB at yung mga pinagbentahan nila ng lupa, kasi dahil sa under operation land transfer, after 7 years, pwede na nilang ibenta at maging legitimate na maging titulo ang mga lupang ito. Ang tanong ko dito, ano ba ang gagawin natin dito sa mga ganitong problema na as a matter of policy, na ang mga kasiladong titulo ay nabubuhay muli at para nawawala ang integrity ng ating land title system pag ang mga dapat cancel the titles ay nabubuhay at ang mga naaapi naman ay mga tao na dapat pinoprotektahan ng Departamento ng Agrarian Reform. So ano ho ang inyong masasabi tungkol sa ganitong problema na binubuhay muli yung cancelled title na under the coverage of Operation Land Transfer?
Yusek Panggulayan.
Mr. Chair, ito pong mga ganitong nagaganap ay labag po sa batas. Maliwanag po na labag ito sa batas. Hindi po ito dapat nangyayari sapagkat una sa lahat po, pag ang lupa ay awarded land na sa magsasaka, ito ay agricultural land. At kahit lumagpas na po yung 7 taon sa ilalim po ng Operation Land Transfer, sa ilalim po ng PD 27, o kahit ito po ay pumalob sa kasalukuyang batas na RA 6657 as amended, hindi po dapat maibenta yan nang wala pong basbas ang Department of Agrarian Reform na tinatawag na transfer clearance. Ito po ay walang transfer clearance sapagkat tiyak pong lalabag po yan sa 5-hectare ceiling. Ikalawa po, hindi po dapat ito na ilipat o nabuhay yung patay na titulo sapagkat mismo pong Land Registration Authority at kami po ay may mga joint administrative orders at mga joint undertakings po para matiyak na maproteksyonan po ang titulo ng mga magsasaka. Maaari po nating maimbestigahan ito sapagkat ang ano ba pong transfer na walang DAR transfer clearance ay void from the beginning po. At ito po ay dapat mawalang saysay sa ilalim po ng batas at ng mga procedures po. Ang Agrarian Reform titles po, tangi ang kalihim lamang po ng Agrarian Reform, the Secretary, ang mayroong jurisdiction para magkansela po ng mga Agrarian Reform titles, kahit ito ay galing sa Emancipation Patent or CLOA. Ito pong jurisdiction na ito, exclusive and sole jurisdiction na binigay sa Secretary of Agrarian Reform, ay nanggaling po sa Kongreso sa Republic Act 9700. Hanggat ito po ay EP or CLOA, hindi po ito pwedeng pakialaman kahit po ng mga ordinaryong korte. So masasabi ko lamang po sa pagkarinig po sa binabanggit po sa atin, Maaari po ang mga ito ay lumabag sa batas at ang mga ito po ay hindi po ito mga valid titles po, Mr. Chair.
Ang pangalan po ng korporasyon na namilit kunin ang lupang yan ay Silver Valley. Ang korporasyon na nagngangalang Silver Valley. Ito po sa batas, barangay batas sa Silang, sa lalawigan po ng Cavite. Ang pangalawang tanong ko naman po sa DAR ay tungkol po sa mga tulay na pamamahagi natin, pinamamahagi ng DAR ngayon. Ito bang mga tulay na ito naririto na sa Pilipinas?
Yes, Yusek Mangulayan.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, matagal na pong ang proyektong ito. Ang mga materyales nga po ay nandito po sa bayan natin at ini-implementa na po ito. Ang gusto lamang po namin ay mabigyan kami ng tulong po para matuloy-tuloy po ang project na ito. Yung pong mga mataas na uri, primera klase po ng mga raw materials para sa tulay ay naka-imbak po sa warehouse. These are galing po sa ibang bansa, sa Italia, no? Sa bansang Pranses po. At ang implementasyon na lamang po, meron pa po tayo mga natitirang tulay ng Pangulo.
Ito po yung mga bakal na tulay? Ito ba yung bakal?
Opo, bakal.
Magkano po per linear meter ang ating pagkakuha dito? At magkano ho lalabas na cost ito pag tayo po yung nag-implement ng isang project? Magkano ho naging gastos ng gobyerno per linear meter dito sa mga ganitong uri ng tulay?
Mr. Chair,
yes, Yusek Mangulayan.
May we request, can you please allow us to ask Undersecretary Bernie Cruz to respond to the query on cost per linear meter, Undersecretary, with your permission po.
Yusek Bernie Cruz.
Mr. Chair, magandang tanghali po ulit o magandang umaga. Sa ngayon po, wala po sa akin ang detalye, but I promise to give the House of Representatives po. Kasi itong tulay ng Pangulo po was approved so many years ago. Tapos ni-revive lang po natin. Kasi yung mga materials nga po sayang at kinakalawang. So pagpasok po ng Duterte administration, pinili po natin ma-revive at may tayo itong mga tulay na to kung saan sila nakaalat before. Ang pagkakaano po kasi nitong project ng tulay ng Pangulo, this is parang jigsaw puzzle na siya, kung saan po yung mga ilog, pre-designed na po siya. Tapos yung implementation po kasi nito, local counterpart, yung mga approaches. So yun po yung hinanapan namin ng pondo at last year nga po, nahanapan namin ito ng 600 million para mailagay lahat yung natitira pang tulay, which is, ang sabi ko nga po kanina, ang kabuuan ay ongoing ngayon ang 20 na tulay at 138 pa yung nasa pre-construction stage. Tapos, ang natapos na po namin is 50 as of now. So, ang total po niya is 188 na tulay. Yung po mga cost at saka hindi ko po hawak yung detalye ngayon, but I promise to get it and retrieve it and submit it to the committee. Maraming salamat.
Saan ho nanggaling ang tulay na to? Ano ho ang funding agency? Ano ho kasaysayan ng pagpondo sa tulay ng Pangulo na ating pinag-uusapan?
Yusek Bernie Cruz.
France po Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, yung ito pong tulay na existing ay galing sa France. Ang sabi ko nga po kanina, itong materials nila.
Hindi ho yan. Anong pondo ang ginamit? Ang tanong ko ho. Anong pondo ang ginamit?
Foreign assisted project.
Foreign assisted, magkano inutang natin, ano ang terms of payment, para alam po natin pinag-uusapan natin. Kasi sasabihin natin napakaganda ng programang ito, hindi natin alam. Ito pala ang pinakamahal na tulay per linear meter. Nasadlak pala tayo sa utang dito na napakalaki. Ano ho talaga ang particulars para naman mas objective ang pagtingin natin dito kaysa naman puro sweet talk lang narinig namin tungkol sa mga tulay na ito? Ano ang pinagalingan ng pondo?
Yes, Yusek Bernie
Mr.
Cruz,
Chair,
yung anong funding po?
Bigyan nyo lang po ako ng ilang minuto at i-retrieve ko po yung ating data tungkol dito. Then I'll submit it po. Sandali lang po, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Yusek Bernie. Simple lang yung tanong, saan po galing? Anong funding? Yung title?
Magkano?
Magkano?
Kailan babayaran? Paano natin binabayaran ito? Ano ang local counterpart? Para malaman natin na Mr. Chairman kung ano talaga ang pinag-uusapan na programa. Kasi mamaya, napakamahal pala nitong lumalabas dito. Ngiti tayo ng ngiti para masaya tayo. Yung pala dapat tayo nagluluksa dahil nag-impose sila sa atin na mabigat na proyekto.
Okay?
Mr. Chair, in a few minutes po, i-retrieve ko lang po yung data. Maraming salamat po.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader? We'll get back to...
I'll just intervene later. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Next. The Chair will recognize from the minority, Representative Carlos Zarate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yung iba kong katanungan ay nasagot na. Gusto ko lang balikan uli yung usapin ng project ng split, doon sa parcelization. Sinasabi, pupunduhan ito ngayon ng 500 million, yung hinihingi. But paano po natin ma-reconcile na meron tayong programang ganito, we parcelize the lands, yung collective CLOA. On the other hand, nagpo-propose na naman kayo na magkaroon ng consolidation of lands, via co-ops, via this mega farm project. So, nangungutang tayo rito para i-parcelize, then pupunduhan ulit natin para i-consolidate. Paano po ma-reconcile ng kagawaran yan?
Permission to speak, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Yusek Manggulan.
Doon po sa usapin ng parcelization, ang binibigyan po natin sa mga magsasaka ay makuha po nila mismo yung titulo nila sa programa. Sapagkat yun po ang pinakasimula ng programa, hawak po mismo ng magsasaka yung titulo sa kanyang awarded land. Now, matagal na po nilang gusto ito, at as a matter of fact po, may isang balakid po doon sa siyasabing 30-year amortization. Lahat po sa collective CLOA ayon po sa Land Bank hanggang sa ngayon ay hindi pa nila nakokolekta dahil wala po sa receivables po ng Land Bank dahil hindi pa po malaman ano pong tiyak na sukat po doon sa lugar po ng buong lupang awarded. There was a time na 59% of all titles issued by DAR are collective CLOAs. And so una sa lahat po, kinakailangang mabigyan at maramdaman po ng magsasaka yung kanya mismong titulo para maramdaman niya ang totoong programa na nakikinabang siya doon at pwede niya po nang ma-exercise ang lahat po ng attributes ng ownership. Yun po ang isa sa mga objective ng parcelization. Now, doon po sa sinasabi na pag-avail po ng economies of scale, yung sa mega farms, at mga iba pa pong mga combinations para po lalong tumaas po yung kanilang income o yield, hindi naman po babangga ito sapagkat mas makakabuti pa po silang pumasok sa mga venture arrangements in their capacity as owners with a definite, with the specifics po ng kanilang lupang inaari. Hindi naman po magiging legal o practical na impediment ang isang magsasaka may sariling titulo na pumalaw po sa mga mega farm activity o commercial farm activity o agriventure arrangements. This time po, nakatayo po sila bilang isang totoong may-ari ng lupa na may sariling titulo po. Ganun po namin tinitingnan po yun, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Zarate.
Kaya nga po siguro dapat talagang i-rationalize yan. Kasi pwede naman, tama naman ang magsasakay, kailangan magkaroon ng titulo. From the CLOA ay maging ma-convert into a title. Pero di po ba meron naman din collective title? So bakit mo bubuwagin yung halimbawa ay organized naman sila? Bakit kailangan i-parcelize natin? Then eventually ay sasabihin. Dahil ang isang katotohanan po sa lupa, hindi ho dumadami ang ating lupa, pero dumadami pa rin ang halimbawa, yung isang pamilya, bigyan mo man lang isang 3 hektarya yan, dahil binuwag mo yung kanilang kooperatiba, nagbigay ka ng 3 hektarya, yung isang pamilya na yan, lalaki at lalaki yan. So eventually, kukulangin yung 3 hektarya. No? So, yun so yung punto ko dyan. No? Kailangan ma-rationalize ninyo yan. Dahil mangungutang tayo sa World Bank for this split project. Then mangungutang ulit tayo para dito sa mega farm or whatever project is that will consolidate. Now, going to another point, Mr. Chair. No? Kaya mahalaga, ilang budget hearing na ito na hinihingi natin yung datos. Ilan ba talaga sa mga sinabi ninyong 2 million, almost 3 million na ARBs, ang nasa lupa pa na kanilang sinasaka ngayon. No? Sinabi natin 4 million yung ating na-distribute na. But in reality, hindi ho natin alam kung andyan pa sila sa kanilang lupang sinasaka. And yan ay isang datos na dapat pagbasihan ng Kongreso sa pagbibigay ng pondo sa inyo. How much fund will be allocated to services? No? How much fund will be allocated to other programs? Dahil alam natin kung ilan ang ating mga ARBs na nasa lupa pa. So as of now, inaamin ng kagawaran, ilang budget hearings na ito, hinihingi natin yan. Ano? Ilan talaga? Inaamin nyo ngayon, hanggang ngayon, hindi natin talaga, wala tayong alam. No? Earlier, Yusek Ero is saying na baka 10% yung wala na, or whatever percent is that. So siguro ang hinihingi na lang natin, Mr. Chair, no, for our further consideration on this, kung ano yung nasa datos nyo ngayon, sa database ninyo, pwede bang mabigyan ang ating committee as well as this representation, no? Para mapagbasihan natin sa susunod nating mga katanungan. And finally, doon na lang, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please wrap up, Congressman Zarate.
Yes. Doon na lang sa kanilang inulat kanina, doon sa accomplishment nila sa Agrarian Justice Delivery Program. Maganda kasing tingnan, no? Ang cases resolved, 99.52%. Pwede ko bang mahingi na lang datos at maipaliwanag sa committee ito, pag sinabi ninyong resolved, ano ibig sabihin nito? Yung ating bang mga magsasakang apektado dito ay nandun na sa lupang kanilang dapat ay sakahin at sila na ang nagmamayari nito? Dahil alam natin, karamihan ng mga agrarian disputes is as to issue of pwede bang maipasok na yung mga magsasaka at sila ay manatili doon sa lupang kanilang sinasaka. No? And kadugtong dyan, related doon sa split program, pag na-parcelize ba ang yung titulo, nabigyan ka na ng isang titulo na sa iyo, hindi na ba pwedeng ma-cancel yon ng DAR? So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. That will be the last question. Congressman Zarate, anybody who will, Yusek Panggulayan, also before you reply, for the other data as requested by Congressman Zarate, please furnish the committee of the data being requested by Congressman Zarate. Yusek Panggulayan, for your reply.
Salamat po, Mr. Chair. Napakainam naman po sa Agrarian Justice Delivery Program. Marami po mga kaso ang naresolba po, nagsimula noong 2018 hanggang kasalukuyan. At magbibigay po kami ng ulat doon. Sa tanong po kung ito'y tatawid sa installation ng mga magsasaka, lahat po ng mga sinasabi namin naresolba ay naresolba po ng DAR. Ngayon po, yung mga magkatunggali po sa kaso, pwede pa po silang umakyat sa Office of the President. At doon sa Office of the President, hanggat hindi pa po nagpapasya ang Office of the President, pag nagpasya sila, tuloy-tuloy na po kami sa installation, basta po hindi ititiaro ng Supreme Court, at ito po naman po ay nakalagay sa RA 9700. Pero makatitiyak po kayo na basta kinatigan na po kami ng Office of the President, ang mga pinagpasyahan pong ito ay tatawid na po sa installation. Meron po mga attempts sila na pigilin kami sa RTC, na sa walang bisa na po namin sa Court of Appeals. Meron po kami ngayong mga challenges sa Supreme Court dahil pinipigilan po kami sa pamamagitan ng permanent injunction ng Court of Appeals na ngayon ay meron po kami ngayong paglalaban sa Supreme Court. Pero sa karamihan po ng mga kasong na-resolve namin, tatawid po ito sa installation pag kinatigan na po ng Office of the President. Karamihan po naman dito ay mga final and executory na po, kaya tumutuloy na po kami. Doon po.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek Panggulayan. Next, the Chair would like to recognize from the majority, the Congressman Khalid Dimaporo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My first question is in regards to the Bangsamoro Organic Law. As part in the previous, in the BARMM's predecessor, the ARMM, agrarian reform was one of its powers. But when we passed or enacted the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the powers of agrarian reform was not defined for the BARMM. And as one of the principal authors of the BOL, I believe it was Senator Drilon who said that whatever powers is not defined in the law that we will give to the BARMM are powers that are retained with the national government. So I'd like to ask this question to the DAR. Since this is now the responsibility and power of the national government, agrarian reform within the BARMM territory, what is the budget of DAR in the BARMM for 2020 and 2021? That's my first question, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, permission to speak.
Pangulayan.
Nung pong pinasa ang batas po na nagbigay buhay po sa BARMM, isa po kami sa mga nagbigay po ng position paper. At ang position po namin, maisali ang agrarian reform mismo sa organic law po ng Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. Nung pumasa po ang batas ng BARMM, nakita po namin na wala po doon ang agrarian reform, bagamat nagtatagpo sila ng Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Agrarian Reform. Ang DAR po ay nakipag-usap sa MAFAR at doon po sa Bangsamoro Transition Authority para mapasok na po ang agrarian reform sa mga organic acts po nila. Sa usapin po ng budget, hindi po maliwanag sa kasalukuyan kung ang DAR po ay isasali po ang program implementation sa loob po ng BARMM. Dala po ng meron po silang sarili dong MAFAR o yung binanggit ko pong ministry. Sumulat po kami sa Department of Justice na nagtatanong dahil meron pong mga pondo ang DAR na galing pong ARMM na nais po namin ibigay sa BARMM at sumulat na po kami sa DOJ at nakipag-usap po kami sa DBM para mabigyan po kami ng kapahintulutan na mabigay po ito sa ARMM sa BARMM po, yung pondo dati ng ARMM. Ngunit ito po ay sa isang will be given only on a one-time basis dahil po ito po ay natirang pera sa ARMM. Pero sa kasalukuyan po, ang tulong po namin sa BARMM ay sa pamamagitan lamang po ng DAR Adjudication Board. Sa operation po ay hindi pa po maliwanag kung mayroon po kaming karapatang mag-budget po kami sa BARMM. May I request po, Mr. Chair, Undersecretary Junjun Malsi to confirm na wala po tayong budget sa BARMM. Mr. Chair, permission po for Yusek Malsi to respond po to sa query. Yusek Malsi.
Mr. Chair,
yes?
For the interest of time, I'm willing that you just submit all the answers to the committee secretariat. And I would like to request also that the legal opinion of the Department of Agrarian Reform be submitted to the committee secretariat regarding the implementation of agrarian reform projects within BARMM territory.
Mr. Chair, we will comply.
The Chair would like to instruct the Department of Agrarian Reform to please submit the information requested by Congressman Cali Dimaporo. Next.
Mr. Chair, I have my second question.
Yes, please proceed.
Is in regards to the Mindanao power grid. It is one of the priority projects within the Duterte administration to connect the Mindanao power grid to the Visayas and Luzon power grid. Now, NGCP is building a substation in my province. The substation is located in Lanao del Norte. Unfortunately, this substation of NGCP is built on agricultural land, which is more than 30 hectares of coconut farmland with existing tenants, and I believe that they are still expropriating additional lands and not recognizing the tenants who have been tilling the land in that area. So I believe that this is a violation of the local government's comprehensive land use plan, because NGCP should convert the substation site from agricultural to industrial. And for them to do this, they need to seek DAR clearance so that they can be cleared of any violations of the CARP law or whatever. No? So I would like to ask the DAR, did the DAR give a special exemption to NGCP for the benefit of a priority project of the Department of Energy? and this is for the substation that will connect the Mindanao power grid to the Visayas power grid. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, permission to speak po.
Yes, Yusek Manggulayan.
Hindi po kami nagbigay ng special privilege po sa NGCP or exemption po from conversion. Pinagbigay din lamang namin sa NGCP na kung ang inyong dadaan ng lupa ay agricultural, dapat pong makipag-usap sa Provincial Agrarian Reform Program Officer. At kung ito po ang footprint po na ito ay maapektuhan po ang agricultural activity ng ARBs, dapat po ito na dumaan po sa conversion. Kung ito naman po ay hindi makakaapekto sa agricultural activities ng ARB, dapat pong tiyakin nila na mayroon pong consent ang provincial director po namin, ang PARPO, at ang mga ARBs po na concern. Dapat nilang kilalanin po yung mga karapatan sa ilalim ng programa. Wala po silang exemption na ganun po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to just place it on the record that the NGCP is not coordinating with the provincial government of Lanao del Norte or its PARO. And I would like to request that the DAR family submit to the committee secretariat all of the communication letters regarding the substation of the NGCP in the province of Lanao del Norte, municipality of Lala, so we can have a little bit of transparency. I would like to just request that, and that's my last concern, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Congressman Dimaporo, Kali Dimaporo.
Can you ask them, boss? Make them submit.
Yes, Department of Agrarian Reform, please submit all the information data as requested by Congressman Dimaporo. Please submit it to the Committee on Appropriations.
We will comply, Mr. Chair.
Next, the Chair would like to recognize Representative Sara Elago. Representative Sara Elago. Are you still Representative Elago? Now we move on to the next interpellator, Representative Geraldine Roman.
Mr. Chair, tila nagko-connect pa po yata si Representative Sara Elago bagamat mababa ang kanyang internet connection.
Yes, we'll go back
to yield.
We will go back to Representative Elago, but the Chair would now recognize Representative Geraldine Roman.
Ngayon na po, Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Yes, please proceed.
Naging malinaw po sa pag-uusap ngayong umaga na ito na walang datos na maibigay ang kagawaran ukol sa estadong aktual ng mga lupang kanilang dinistribute at hindi naman po natin sila masisisi. So ang aking katanungan para kay Yusek G. Orogo ay tungkol dun sa Mustasaka. Para sa kalaman po ng ating mga kasamahan, ng Mustasaka po ay isang programa po para sa magkaroon sila ng tracking system as well as database. So magkano po ang kailangan ninyo more or less, Yusek G. Orogo? Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized? Yeah, Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes, Yusek Orogo.
Yeah, Congresswoman
Geraldine Roman.
Yeah, sa ngayon po, nag-submit kami ng proposal worth, I think, 400 million or kalahating billion po ng ang kailangan namin para ma-profile natin ang buong 2.8 million na magsasaka at ma-follow up natin sila kung nasaan na sila ngayon. And also, yung 4.8 million na hektarya, kung ito pa ba ay kasalukuyan ay agricultural land pa ba o hindi na. No? So, kailangan po namin ito at nagpa-promise po kami na in 6 months, we will get all the data that we need dahil maayos na po yung aming programa. Ang kailangan na lamang po namin ay yung mga equipment para ma-accommodate ng mga server ang big data na kailangan nating ilagak doon, no? So lahat po ng katanungan natin, siguro pagdating ng panahon, pag tayo po nag-uusap dito, you can access and put it on sa ganitong malakihang pag-uusap. Makikita po ninyo or even in your own computer ang datos ng Department of Agrarian Reform online, no? So yun po ang kailangan namin, mahal naming Honorable Congresswoman Roman. Thank you po.
Thank you very much.
Please proceed to your next question, Representative Roman.
Yes po. Kung gayon po ay minumungkahi ko sa ating komite na tugunan na natin yung pangangailangan nilang $500 million. Pag na-solve po itong base de datos nila at saka tracking system, ay lahat, pati na rin po ang kanilang Justice Delivery Program ay mapapabilis. Isang huling katanungan, nabanggit po kanina na 500 hectares na lang po ang natitirang lupa, pero ayon sa aking pakikipag-usap sa kagawaran, ay meron pang 661,000 hectares na maaari pang ma-distribute, including government lands that are idle. Ano po ba ang pumipigil sa atin? Kailangan ba natin ng extension? May I ask Yusek Pangulayan, extension ng ating Agrarian Reform Program. Maraming salamat po.
Mr. Chair, permission to speak.
Yes, Yusek Pangulayan.
Doon po sa katanungan pong ito ni Madam Congresswoman Roman po, ang usapin po dito ay tungkol sa pinatay po ng batas yung Notice of Coverage noong pong 2014 sa pamamagitan po ng Republic Act 9700. Napigilan po ang pagdadagdag ng mga agricultural land sa ilalim po ng programa dahil po sa Notice of Coverage na binigyan po ng katapusan o tuldok noong 2014. Ang aming pong panalangin ay bigyang buhay po uli ng Kongreso ang otoridad po ng kagawaran na mag-issue po ng Notice of Coverage sa mga private agricultural lands na hindi po nasama sa programa. Doon po sa mga iba pa pong balakid naman, doon sa mga lupang nabigyan ng Notice of Coverage, kailangan pong baguhin yung isinabatas po na illegal conversion dahil medyo may kakulangan po yung elemento ng illegal conversion na siya pong pumipigil para mabalik po sa lupa, sa CARP, yung mga lupa pong illegally converted. Dahil wala pong kasong masampa na sa korte dahil ang definition po ng illegal conversion, dalawa po sa elemento nito ay intent to defraud tsaka intent to violate the law. Ang mga fiscal po, hindi po ito nasasagot. Kailangan pong mabigyan po ng lunas ng bagong batas po ang dalawang kahinaan na ito para po dumami po o makuha po ang mga private agricultural lands na nakatakas po sa coverage, dala po ng tuldok na binigay ng RA 9700. Yun po ang sagot namin doon, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Yusek Pangulayan. Representative Roman, for your next question.
Nais ko pong susugan ang sinabi ni Yusek Pangulayan. Meron pong pangangailangan mula sa Kongreso na baguhin ang existing laws natin. Kung kaya't hinihikayat ko po kayong lahat po yan ay magbibigyan ng tugon kung susuportahan po natin ang pagpapalawi ng Agrarian Reform Program kung saan nakapaloob na ang mga pagbabago at pag-amyenda sa mga batas, nagiging balakid sa pagbibigay ng agarang justice sa ating mga magsasaka. Suportahan po natin ang House Bill 5507. Hanggang dato po tayong patumpik-tumpik pa. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Representative Geraldine Roman. Next, the Chair would recognize Representative Sara Elago. Representative Sara Elago. Please unmute your mic. Are you there? Next, we'll get back to Representative Elago. Next, the Chair would like to recognize Representative Ria Vergara.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed, Representative Ria Vergara.
One, sir, is just a question to Secretary Castellanos. It's a parochial issue, but he made a commitment when he went, nung pumunta po kayo, Mr. Secretary, sa aking distrito, na ipaubot po ko po sa inyo yung mga na-massacre na pamilya doon sa Fort Magsaysay at 5 pamilya po ito
Pero ngayon po, nakausap namin yung Maro Cluster 4 na si Ms. Tal Placido. Ang sinasabi po ay naghahanap pa rin po ng lupa. Maaari po bang makahiling ng follow-up o yung commitment niyo po na may lupa na at i-award lang, Mr. Chair, kay Secretary John?
May I be recognized, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Secretary Castriciones.
I agree with Congresswoman Vergara that the last time that we went to Nueva Ecija, particularly in Cabanatuan City, she made mention of a certain case about several farmers who were victims of violence, and that she was asking us whether we can extend to them the much needed assistance so that they will be able to have a piece of land of their own. Now, this matter was already referred to the Provincial Agrarian Reform Officer of Nueva Ecija, and at the moment they are in the process of looking for a suitable land that would be given to these farmers, particularly if they are really qualified for the purpose of giving them these pieces of lands. So rest assured, Madam Congresswoman, we will do our best so that we will be able to help and assist these farmers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Mr. Chair,
Representative Vergara, please continue.
What does he mean when he says if they are really qualified? If qualification in terms of income level, or because these are farmers po from Gabaldon who lost their land and went to this land that's actually owned by DAR.
Okay.
Secretary John,
may I be allowed to respond, please?
Yes, Secretary John Castriciones, please proceed.
Madam Congresswoman, when I say that they would be pre-qualified, that means that we have to gauge as to whether or not they would qualify into the so-called qualifications that is actually called for under Republic Act 6557. And of course, the priority is that they would be tenants or they would be actual tillers of the soil, and they're still capable of tilling or cultivating the soil. As you mentioned, I think that was a month ago when we went to Cabanatuan City, they are, I think, the family members who were left behind by those who were killed because of this violent event that had transpired there. And so we would like to know whether those family members who were left behind are qualified to become agrarian reform beneficiaries, as in accordance with the provision of Republic Act 6557.
Yes, sir. So they are qualified, sir. That's why now they're just looking for land for them. How long will this process take?
Well, since there is a process, Madam Congresswoman, first of all, there would be it would be placed on notice that certain pieces of parcels of land would be up for distribution, and they would have to apply for the said parcels of land. And of course, we will be calling their attention on this matter so that they would be aware of it. They would be, the Municipal Agrarian Reform Officer would have to verify whether they live in the same barangay, and they would see to it that they are actually qualified and capable of cultivating the land, and that there are no other disqualifications that are actually mentioned under the law. And if such is the case, then definitely they will be given that parcel of land that is due them, and I suppose that because of the incident that took place, preference will be given to them, Madam Congresswoman.
Thank you very much, Secretary.
Yes.
Opo, dahil umaasa po sila at alam ko po na kayo din po ay nakatutok dito sa 5 pamilya na to. My last manifestation, Mr. Chair, is...
yes, Representative Vergara, please proceed to your last manifestation.
Yes, sir. Alam po natin lahat na ang pagbibigay lupa ay hindi nagtatapos doon. Kailangan po natin talagang tulungan sila. At nakakalungkot na tulad ng sinabi po ni DSL Ray at ni Congressman Kabatbat at Congressman Chikiting na yung Agrarian Reform Beneficiary Development Sustainability Program na hinihiling ng DAR na 7 billion ay naging 700 million lamang. Ito po ay hindi makatarungan at sana po magawan po natin ng paraan na bigyan ang DAR ng budget na ito dahil napakahalaga po para maging successful po ang mga programa ng DAR. Yun lamang po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Representative Ria Vergara. Before I would recognize the next interpellator from the minority, we already see Yusek Bernie Cruz here. Can you already respond to the query of the Senior Deputy Majority Leader Remulla with regards to the bridge program?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Honor, the bridge program, ODA France, it's a 15-year to pay. More or less, the entire project is 10,436 linear meters. And the amount at that time is 1.1 million per linear meter. Yun po yung computation niya, roughly, Mr. Chair.
1.1 million pesos per linear meter.
Per linear meter po.
Have we started paying for the loan already or still in the grace period? Kailan ba yan kinuha ng ating gobyerno? At kailan pinanduhan ng process?
Yusek Bernie Cruz.
Mr. Chair, yung ating loan ang loan effectivity niya is December 26, yung signing, 2008. And yung loan effectivity is March 19, 2009. Supposedly matatapos siya ng February 18, 2014. But nagkaroon nga po ng problema, so hindi po siya natuloy-tuloy. After na lang ng pagpasok ni President Duterte, nung nakita namin na nakatambak yung mga materials, kasi nag-lapse po yung local counterpart, yung government counterpart ng loan. So, hinanapan ho namin ng pondo, nakiusap ulit kami dito sa Congress, at napondohan po last year para lang mailagay namin yung mga tulay at matapos po namin lahat. Yun po, Mr. Chair.
So do we still have counterpart funding, Mr. Chairman, for this up to now?
No,
kasama ko ba siya sa counterpart fund? May counterpart fund pa ba ang gobyerno para matapos ilagay ito mga tuloy na ito sa dapat paglagyan?
Nakuha na po namin last year para mailagay na namin lahat. So, wala na pong kailangang local fund kasi parang continuing na po siya at mailalagay na po lahat yung tulay based dun sa binigay sa atin last year.
Yung ano na lang, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, SDML.
Kompleto na ang allocation niya. Lahat ng probinsya, lahat ng sitio, lahat ng lupain na paglalagyan ng mga tulay, na-identify na o hindi pa?
Mr. Chair, nung in-approve po yung loan, nung in-apply yung loan, pre-identified po yung mga lalagyan ng tulay. Ang sabi ko nga kanina, dahil sa dami ng nangangailangan, mahigit 3,000 yung mga request, yung mga nangangailangan ng tulay. Pero sa ngayon, ang natitira na lang na tulay natin, no, based dun sa tinutuloy namin is, sandali lang po. Ang natitira na lang na i-construct is yung ongoing na 20 at yung pre-construction na 138. So actually marami po talaga kami every budget hearing prior to this. Lagi pong may request at pinipilit po naming mapagbigyan sana lahat. Mayroon po kasing mangilan-ngilan na tulay na dahil sa tagal ng implementation noon, dahil nagka-problema po ito prior sa ating pag-assume, no? Hindi na po siya parang viable dun sa area na yon. So may mga mangilan-ngilan po na hinahanapan namin kung may nagre-request na mailipat. Kasi ano po siya parang precast, parang ano siya. So hindi po siya pwedeng ilipat agad not unless kakasya yung tulay na, yung putol ng tulay, kanya-kanyang putol po. Tapos, nire-request namin, doon sa nagre-request sa amin na i-shoulder yung study nung approach. So yun po ang situation ng ating tulay, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Yusek Bernie Cruz. Next, before I recognize again Representative Sara Elago, I'll just read the manifestation of the Vice Chairman of the Committee on Appropriation, Joed Garcia, as relayed to us, and this is his message. I would like to get the pertinent documents surrounding the notice of coverage of the Sunrise Paper Mill in Orani, Bataan, sent by Dept of Agrarian Reform in 2013, and verification of the land titles issued by DAR to Batarasa Corporation in the Anpare, Orion, Bataan, So the chair would like to request the Dept of Agrarian Reform to furnish this data and information requested by Representative Joed Garcia. Next, again, are you there already, Representative Sara Elago? Ayan. Congressman Sarate, I think you're calling her for the third time. Oh, naghihintay kami. We cannot hear you. I understand that others in the Zoom conference meeting can hear you, but we cannot hear you here right now. So, but we'll go back to you. Don't worry. Next, Representative Bing Umali. Representative Bing Umali. Okay, balikan na lang natin. Next, Representative Hill Acosta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed, Congressman Acosta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question to DAR would be regarding EO number 75 of 2019. Kumusta na po ba? Ilan na po ba ang ektaryang lupain na naisama dito sa EO number 75 patungkol po sa mga lupain ng gobyerno na suitable for farming po, Mr. Chair? Thank you po.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, Yusek David Ero will be responding to the query.
The Chair would like to recognize Yusek David Ero.
Thank you po, Mr. Chair. Sa amin pong inventory sa DAR, umaabot po ng 217,000 hectares across the country po. Ang government-owned lands na can be covered under EO 75 series of 2019. Kaya lang po, kung titignan ho natin, bagamat ito ay direktiba ng ating Pangulo, karamihan ho sa mga ahensya ng gobyerno na kung saan ang mga lupain ito ay nakaresolve, ay nakakalungkot ng sabihin na hindi ho nakikipag-cooperate. Sa katunayan ho, mula nung nagsimula itong effectivity ng EO 75 hanggang sa kasalukuyan, iisang ahensya pa lang po ng gobyerno ang lumalabas na nag-execute ng deed of transfer o ang pumayag na ipakover ang kanilang lupain. Ito lang po yung TESDA na umaabot ho ng 289 hectares. The rest ho ay talagang nagkakaroon ho kami ng legal tussle o nagkakaroon ho ng talagang usapin pa at hindi ho talaga sila pumapayag. Kaya kung maaari ho sana sa tulong ng ating mga representante o ng komiting ito ay kung sakali ho, total dadaan naman ho sila sa budget hearing, baka pwede hong mapakiusapan naman sila na ibigay nila. Dahil kung titignan ho natin, ilang libong magsasaka po ang mabibigyan ng lupang ito. Kasama na rin ho kasi dito sa government-owned lands na ating bibigyan ay mga qualified enrollees ng Balik Probinsya Program. Malaki rin po ang nakaalat ng mga lupa rito sa ating mga qualified enrollees. Yun po. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Secretary. Congressman Acosta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is the very meat of my question, Mr. Chair, because of the budgetary constraints of the DAR, which is 8 billion this coming 2021. Malaki yung tipid para sa gobyerno. Ito mga lupain pagmamayari ng national government at dapat po ibigay na doon sa ating mga kababayan at mga kabarangay na nangangailangan ng lupa. Particular, Mr. Chairman, ay doon sa aking nabasang news clip patungkol sa DAR ay merong preliminary list of government-owned lands. Number 1 is yung 9,000 hectares sa Yulo King Ranch sa Busuanga, Palawan, 5,000 hectares sa University of Southern Mindanao, 5,200 hectares sa Davao Penal Colony, and 1,000 hectares sa Aurora State College of Technology. Ano na pong status nito? Anyone from the DAR, Mr. Chair? Thank you po.
Yes, anybody from the DAR? Yusek David Ero?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Doon po sa YKR po, 9,000 po yan. Ganun sa tingin po natin, after sa validation po, ang lumalabas po na initial na pwede po nating makover doon at may pamahagi sa mga magsasaka ay 1,800 hectares. Ngunit ito po ay sinabi na namin sa DNR, ang lumalabas po ay ayaw ko talagang ibigay ng DNR. Nung nagkaroon po tayo ng pagipagdialogo sa kanila, ang lumalabas po, parang pumapayag sila sa 600 plus lang po ang ibibigay sa amin. Ngunit itong uli ho na pag-uusap na naman ay mukhang kumakambyo sila, parang umaatras uli sila sa usapan. Yun po yung sitwasyon po sa YKR, sa Yulo King Ranch. Ang pinag-uusapan na ho kasi natin dito ay yung Busuanga side lang, wala pa po yung Coron side. Yun naman po sa Southern Philippines, ganoon din po yung sitwasyon. Ayaw ho nilang magbigay ng deed of transfer. Dahil sa lahat po ng mga lupaing ng ahensya nga, ng mga ahensya kung saan nakareserba ho yan, ang una ho nating binibigay kasi, base na rin sa internal rules and regulations ng Executive Order 75, ang binibigay ho natin ay nagre-request ho tayo to execute deed of transfer. Ngayon po, kung ayaw ho nila talagang mag-execute ng deed of transfer ho, binibigyan ho natin ng notice to proceed. Kaya lang ho talagang, hindi ho talaga sila nakikipag-cooperate. Kahit na ho, nagkaroon na kami ng mga dialogo, nagpatulong na rin ho kami sa opisina ng Office of the Executive Secretary, ay ganun pa rin ho hanggang sa kasalukuyan. Yun po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We just got the details from the DAR. Salamat po, salamat po.
Okay, thank you very much. Representative Hill Acosta. O balik tayo. Andiyan na ba? Baka na. Pwede na. Representative Sara Elago. Representative Sara. Please unmute your microphone. Okay? Comsec, can you check saan yung Zoom natin? Okay. Anyway, the chair would next recognize Representative Bing Umali. Representative Bing Umali. Okay, we'll get back to you. Next.
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
Congressman Rufus, have you called me or I'm still going to wait, Mr. Chair?
Not yet. You are still in our list. I will call you. Relax,
Thank you very much.
Congressman
Thank you,
Rufus.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Thank
don't
you.
worry. Next, the chair would recognize Deputy Speaker Dante Marcoleta. Deputy Speaker Dante Marcoleta.
Salamat, Mr. Chair.
Please proceed with your question or manifestation.
Mr. Chair, gusto ko lang pong ipaalam kung ano na ang nangyari dun sa kaso ng mga farmers sa Lian, Batangas. Na ipaabot po kasi sa opisina ko ito, Mr. Chair. Halos nagsisikip na po ang dibdib ng mga farmers doon sapagkat mukhang kahit final and executory na yung judgment ng Office of the President. At yan naman po kagaya ng narinig natin sa sinabi ni Yusek Pangulayan, pagka final and executory na po yung judgment, ministerial na lamang po ang gagawin ng TAR at i-install na po yung mga farmers. Ang nangyari po, nabasa ko yung mga ilang dokumento rito, kahit na po ang secretary ng DAR, Secretary John Castriciones, gumawa na rin ng kaukulang pakikipag-coordinate sa PNP, sa DND, AFP at saka DILG para yung mga partners po ay install. Ngunit yung pong mga landed estates doon ay lumalaban ng mga abogado na kanilang ginagamit ay napakasigasig para pigilan po ang reforma ng Agrarian Department. So, ang pagpapatupad po ng action ng DAR ang nakabitin dito, Mr. Chair, sapagkat mawawalan po ng kahulugan ang ginagawa ng buong departamento kung yung mga naka-occupy na mga malalaking mga korporasyon, kagaya po ng isa dyan ay pag-aari o ino-occupy po ng isang Menardo Jimenez na top executive ng GMA7, andyan po yung Santa Lucia. Hindi po may patutupad ang kahit anong kaukulang tagumpay na natamo ng mga farmers. Ang pagkakaalam ko po yan, 1966 pa po, Mr. Chair, awarded na po ng gobyerno sa mga farmers. Nagkataon lamang yung Register of Deeds, Batangas, sa hindi may papaliwanag na mga pangyayari kung bakit napatituluhan ng napakaraming mga tao, mga bilyonaryo, na ngayon ay siyang nagsisilbing dahilan kung bakit hindi maipatupad ang ipinanalo ng mga farmers. May 2018 pa po, alam ni Yusek Pangulayan yan, na nagkaroon na po ng final and executory order ng Office of the President. Wala pong TRO, walang prohibition, walang status quo order. Ang gagawin na lamang po, i-install ang mga farmers. Bakit po hanggang ngayon, sa kabila ng Joint Resolution number 5 na napagtibay noong 2002, ang buong departamento po ay humingi ng tulong sa PNP, AFP, DND at DILG. Bakit ang mga abogado lamang po ng malalaking korporasyon na ito ang nagsisilbing harang at hindi maipatupad ang implementasyon ng gobyerno? Mas malakas pa po ba sila sa gobyerno, Mr. Chair? Ito po yung iiwanan kong tanong. Kapag hindi po na-install ang mga farmers diyan sa Lian, Batangas, ay mawawalan po ng kahulugan, mawawalan po ng saysay ang layunin po ng Department of Agrarian Reform. Kanina po nakikinig ako doon sa Agrarian Justice Delivery Program. Doon po sa chart ng mga adjudicated cases, 1% lang po yung landed estates. Pero kahit na 1% lang po, diyan nakasalalay po ang pag-asa ng mamamayan at mga farmers diyan sa San Diego, Leon, Batangas. Pati po yung pagpapatupad at pag-request po ni Secretary Castriciones ng isang sub-military camp ay hindi rin may patupad-tupad sapagkat meron din po mga generals na kinakasangkapan ng mga landlords na nandyan para harangin po yung hakbang na yun. Napakalaki pong problema ito, Mr. Chair, at dapat harapin po talaga ito ng DAR sapagkat mismo po ang buong puwersa ng DAR na po ang ginagamit, kasangkapan na po ang AFP, PNP, DILG, ay walang magawa sa mga private owners po ito na hindi maipaliwanag hanggang ngayon bakit hindi pa po nakakansela ang kanilang mga titulo, gayong napagtibay na po ito, final and executory na po ang judgment.
Representative Marcoleta, please wrap up.
Yan po yung tanong ko, kung meron po may sasagot ngayon sana ang DAR, at doon po ako magsisimula para saliksikin at usigin po natin yan sa mga susunod na mga araw.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker Marcoleta. You have already consumed 5 minutes. So we will now ask Yusek Pangulayan to respond to the queries of Deputy Speaker Diaz Marcoleta.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair. Ito po ay katugunan sa mga tanong po ni Deputy Speaker Marcoleta. Ang mga titulo po ng mga magsasaka sa Lian, Batangas ay naibigay po sa ilalim ng Commonwealth Act 539 noong 1940. It's an earlier agrarian reform program law. At kinikilala po ito ng DAR. At ang Office of the President po ay nagpasya na ang pagbabatayan po ng mga karapatan ng mga magsasaka dito po sa Lian, Batangas ay ang Commonwealth Act 539, an earlier agrarian reform program law. Ang utos po ngayon ng Pangulo ay kanselin na yung mga titulo ng mga pribadong korporasyon. Pag wala silang naipakitang transfer clearance sa DAR o doon sa earlier agencies or conversion clearance or exemption certificate, ang mga titulo po ng kasalukuyang mga may-ari, ito pong sila Magent at San Diego Holdings, ay mga regular title po. Ang utos po ng Pangulo, ipakita at ibigay sa Office of the Solicitor General lahat po ng mga findings of facts po ng DAR at hayaan ng OSG na sila na magsampa ng demanda para po mabaklas ang mga titulo ng mga pribadong korporasyong ito. Basta makita lamang po na walang batayan ang kanilang pag-aari ng mga lupang ito. Nagpupulong na po ang DAR at ang Office of the Solicitor General. Nakipag-ugnayan na po kami kay Solicitor General Calida at sa kanilang Assistant Solicitor General Ocampo. At naghahanda na po ang ASG masampa po ang kaso batay po sa mga ebidensyang naibigay po namin. Kasalukuyan po nilang pinag-aaralan nito. At sa ika-11 po ng Setyembre ay may pagpupulong po ang OSG ang DAR tungkol po sa kasong ito. Yung pong mga ang PNP, AFP at ang militar po ay hindi kaagad makapagtayo ng kanilang mga istasyon po doon po sa loob ng lupa sapagkat ito ay nakapangalan pa kay San Diego Holdings at kay doon po sa Magent Corporation. At nakikiusap po ang DAR at ang mga AFP at PNP na hayaan muna sila doon pumunta, ngunit ito po ay hinindihan doon sa huli pong pagpupulong, hinindihan po ng mga korporasyon. Bagamat nag-agree po ang mga korporasyon na patuloy na makipag-usap sa DAR, PNP at AFP. So tumutuloy po yung landas na yon ng pakikipag-usap, hindi naman po naiwalay doon sa landas na i-cancel na po yung mga titulo sa pamamagitan po ng petisyon ng Office of the Solicitor General sa regular courts. Yun po yung kasalukuyang kalagayan po.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek Panggulayan. Considering that...
Tanong, total naman, ay pagpapakita lamang po ng dokumento ang inihingi pala ng DAR. Hindi naman po siguro magtatagal yun ng isang linggo sapagkat kagaya ng nabanggit kanina ni Yusek Panggulayan, 1940s pa po yan. Mas matagal pa po yan sa kaso ng Hacienda Luisita, Mr. Chair. Kung mapapansin po ninyo, kawawang-kawawa po yung mga farmers na in-award. Kung 1940 pa po yan hanggang ngayon, simpleng dokumento na lamang po ang hinihingi po ng Solicitor General Siguro naman po sa loob ng 2 linggo maayos na yan. At kung wala naman talagang may papakita, yung mga malalaking korporasyon, na bigla na lamang nakakuha ng kanilang pag-aari dyan. Inaasahan ko po, Mr. Chair, na yung mga farmers sa lamang madaling panahon po ay ma-install na po ng DAR. Salamat po muli sa inyo.
Okay, thank you very much, Dios Marcoleta. That will be the last manifestation. Yusek Panggulayan. Then after the reply of Yusek Panggulayan, the chair will recognize Representative Hector Sanchez. So, Yusek Panggulayan.
Tinitiyak ko po na ang mga ebidensya po ay nasa Office of the Solicitor General na, Mr. Chair. Nasa OSG na po ang mga papeles. Ang mga magsasaka ito ay na-install noong 1940s, 1950s. Yun po iniimbestigahan namin ng OSG. Paano sila nawala doon? Ito ba ay sa kusang pagbebenta ng lupa o sa isa pong paglilipat ng pag-aari na wala pong otorisasyon ng pamahalaan? Yun po pinag-aaralan ngayon. At ang lahat po ng ebidensya ay nasa OSG na po sa araw na ito. Matagal na pong napadala sa kanila.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek. Next, Representative Hector Sanchez. Congressman Sanchez.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I fully support the programs of our DAR. And my only concern is while we are in the pandemic situation, kung natatandaan po natin, nung mag-start ang lockdown, nag-panic ang buong Pilipinas, baka kapusin tayo sa supply ng bigas. Now, ang tanong ko lang po dito sa ating mga mahal na mga in charge sa DAR, sa ngayon po ba, ilan pa hong hektarya yung ready for distribution para po, ang tanong ko ho ay ready for distribution ng mga irrigated or non-irrigated hectares para po doon sa pagtatanim ng ating mga farmers. Ito po nabanggit ho kanina na meron pong programa ng mega farms. However, alam po natin na mababa ang kanilang makukuhang budget for the year 2021. Now, base po sa development niyan, may I suggest na immediately kung ano man ang any plans or any development for the programs regarding food security, sana po dahil malaki ang budget ng Department of Agriculture, Mr. Chairman, pwede naman po ito ma-incorporate sa budget nila as long as the distribution of the lands na dapat po ma-expedite, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. From DAR,
Mr.
Yusek
Chair,
Pangulayan.
sa usapin po ng balancing ngayon na natitira po sa land acquisition and distribution at tungkol po sa mega farms, we would like to request permission for Undersecretary Dave Ero to respond to the comments po and also Yusek Bernie Cruz, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Yusek Ero.
At salamat po, Mr. Chair. Actually, as of now po, meron po tayong 500,000 na 500,023 ho na balance natin sa ating dapat po natin i-cover. Kung ibabawas po natin, if we will deduct the 30,000 which is the target for this year, 2020, lalabas po, may aabot pa po tayo ng 593,000. Ngayon po, katulad nga po ng sinabi ko kanina, nalilimitahan po kasi ang power of coverage ng DAR dahil po sa budget na nabibigay po ng DBM every year. Sa ngayon po sana, kung sakali po sanang walang pandemic, we can assure sana po ang the committee, Mr. Chair, na masusurpasan na ho namin ang target for this year. Sa tansya lang ho namin ngayon, baka abot lang po kami ng mga siguro roughly 90% ng aming target for this year because of the pandemic. Yun po, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Yusek Ero. Yusek Bernie, you want to add something?
Mr. Chair, idadagdag ko lang, nabanggit po kasi kanina, maraming mga tanong dun sa tungkol sa mega farms, no? Kanina mayroon ding akong narinig nung bago ako pumasok dito na bakit nagpa-parcelize tayo at the same time kino-consolidate natin into mega farms. So sa batas po kasi dun sa CARP law, lahat talaga kailangang i-parcelize, no? Tapos sa point of view ng Department of Finance, kasi ang report ng Land Bank, out of the 1.3 million hectares na collective CLOA, mayroon po 700,000 plus na collective CLOA na hindi makapag-kolekta yung Land Bank kasi wala pa siyang LADIS, ang tawag namin doon. Ano yung LADIS, Yusek Ero? Land Information Distribution Schedule. Ito po yung individual, ano? Kasi pag collective po yung CLOA natin, hindi po talaga siya makolektahan yung bawat individual. Kasi kailangan natin yung information na yun, ilang hektarya talaga yung napunta sa kanya, ilan yung mga dapat na common areas para po dun sa mga tao. At the same time, makakakolekta po ang land bank. Di ba? Umutang po tayo, ito po yung nung dinidiscuss natin. Umutang po tayo ng 24 billion, pero ang makokolekta ng land bank, ayon kay BP Lorayas ng land bank, is around 44 billion pagka na-parcelize natin. So, doon naman po sa bakit natin ipaparcelize, security of tenure po kasi, parang individual title. Alam niyo naman po dito sa atin, pag yung isang pamilya, pag yung na-awardan ng lupa, hindi niya hawak yung titulo, yung buong pamilya, parang, ba't kami magtutulong-tulong mag-invest dyan? Hindi natin identified na saan yung lupa natin dyan. So, kailangan po nating i-parcelize. So, magtutulong-tulong po yung buong pamilya. At the same time, yung sinasabi ko po kanina, na from subsistence farming, kasi yun yung time na, nung una siguro, yun yung concept natin ng DAR. Pero nakita po natin, lalo na ngayong nagkaroon ng pandemic, na kailangan nating i-secure yung food security ng ating bansa, at magagawa lang natin yan pag i-develop natin into commercial farming ulit yung ating mga lupa. So sa parcelization po, meron po kaming ipaparcelize na 1.3 million hectares. Ayaw na po naming mawala ito at ma-convert into another use. So ang gusto po namin is immediately ma-develop siya into commercial farming, kaya kailangan po namin mag-pilot nung mega farm. So yun po yung reason nung dalawang program po ng DAR. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
If I may.
Okay, thank you, Yusek Ernie.
Mr. Chair.
Yusek Emily,
Yeah po.
you want to add something?
Yes,
Please.
sir. Mr. Chair, gusto ko lang pong ilagay sa konteksto yung sinasabi tungkol sa mega farms. Kasi under Republic Act 6657 as amended by 9700, dun po sa Section 13 po niya nakalagay na ang land acquisition and distribution together with the support services will have to come up with an integrated program, at ito nga po nung yung nagsimula ito, ang DAR po ay merong under the law, nakalagay po diyan na dapat magkaroon for every legislative district ng at least 2 agrarian reform communities, At yun po yung parang strategy, na ginawa ng DAR upang ma-develop ang isang agrarian reform community kung saan doon po natin pinadadaloy yung mga programa, Tinutulungan natin yung mga ARBs na maging productive yung kanilang lupa. Tinutulungan natin silang mag-organisa, binibigyan natin sila ng livelihood and economic support or mga enterprise program, And then binibigyan natin sila ng mga infrastructure facilities. And then kasama rin po doon yung ating marketing ng lahat ng kanilang produkto. So yun po ang kabuuan ng isang agrarian reform community as a strategy para ma-achieve natin yung tinatawag nating rural industrialization. So ngayon po, dahil yan ay inabandon noong 2010, inabandon po yan, at binigyan na lang po ang DAR ng ang kanilang ginawang strategy ay tumulong na lamang sa mga agrarian reform beneficiary organizations na iwan po ng mga agrarian reform community. Ang agrarian reform community po, meron silang agrarian development plan. Bawat isa po niyan. Nakalagay dyan kung ano ba ang kailangan ng isang agrarian reform community in terms of infrastructure, organizing, in terms of paano ba magiging productive yung kanilang mga lupa, So, ito pong, since inabandon po yan ng 2010, nung pumasok itong mega farm, parang iniisip po natin na this is another strategy, para ma-develop talaga yung mga lupa na karamihan po dito mga lolad na talagang kailangan i-infuse na natin ng support services, Kasi after, ang nakalagay po sa batas, after the last parcel of land has been distributed to our people, kailangan pumasok ang support services. So yun po talaga, So this is really a welcome development, at ako po yung nagpapasalamat na ang ating Kongreso at ang ating committee nakita yung mega farm as a strategy to help our farmers. Thank you po.
Thank you, Yusek Emily Padilla. Next in our list is Representative Rufus Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayong paniugto sa tanan. I see also Vice Chair Ted Haresco, my good friend. I have only 2 questions because we want to be short.
Please
The
proceed.
first one, my question to the department is how many hectares in Cagayan de Oro City, the city of Golden Friendship, has been in notice of coverage, and when can these hectares be distributed, their titles, to the beneficiaries? The first question.
Thank you. Dar will respond. Yusek Ero.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So far po, wala po kami ng specific sa Cagayan de Oro po. Meron po kami sa Region 10. Ang nakalagay po rito ay lumalabas po na meron pa po na 17,000 hectares for Region 10 as a part of the land balance. But we can supply po the good congressman po regarding the data specifically for Cagayan de Oro City. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman,
Congressman Rodriguez, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm disappointed that they could not answer per district. They know that this is a congressional hearing of the Committee on Appropriations, and certainly the congressman will be interested to know that our beneficiaries in the Agrarian Reform Program of our government will already be receiving their titles to the areas that they have been granted as beneficiaries. So we could not have an answer like we have a Region 10, because this is by our district congressmen are here, and I am interested to know how our Cagayanons farmers, beneficiaries, when will they be given the titles? Because I saw Secretary Casticiones coming to Cagayan, they were giving some titles, but I would like to know now, what do we expect? That is why we need that in a budget hearing per district. In some other departments, there is even a folder given to district congressmen on the projects of that department in the district. Since we're starting now, Mr. Chairman, we have to advise the future particular departments to already give the congressmen what are their projects in their respective districts, so that we can intelligently be able to discuss it and to help them if they need more funding for the country, which includes our districts. Do you know why they don't have that kind of a document, Department of Agrarian Reform?
Congressman Rodriguez, maybe we can ask DAR to submit to the members of the House the per district report. Would that be, the chair would like to ask the Department of Agrarian Reform to submit per district the information or data requested not only by Congressman, the very active Congressman of Cagayan de Oro, the city of Golden Friendship, Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, but also to the other members of the House of Representatives. The chair directs and instructs the Department of Agrarian Reform to do so. We will comply,
Mr. Chairman,
comply.
they should have been prepared for that, because now I will be constrained to move to defer the hearing for the DAR, because are we going to approve by the committee their presentation if they have not submitted that, Mr. Chair? Because it has been done
Rodriguez, I think
before.
they are...
Do you know, Mr. Chair, do you know
5 minutes.
they're going to have a hearing today? Do you know congressmen will be going to ask questions on their district? That is why we are elected for our district.
Yes, Member Rodriguez, they are asking for 5 minutes and we are still in the process of budget briefing, so don't worry. In 5 minutes, they will give the data to you during this budget briefing.
Thank you. Now, to my last question, I thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have really presided so well in this particular hearing. And my last question is,
Please proceed.
before
Last.
I will receive the answer for Cagayan de Oro, my district. 6 years ago, we already have the tulay ng Pangulo. They have been going back to my district, and there have been the identification of 2 viable tulay ng Pangulo bridges. One is in Barangay Agusan, the other one is in Barangay Tablon. So now we will know whether they are ongoing or they're part of those to be future ongoings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Congressman Rufus Rodriguez. Yusek Bernie Cruz, you can now respond to the query of the Representative Rufus Rodriguez. Yung tulay ng Pangulo in his district.
Mr. Chair, as I said a while ago, nagkaroon po ng problem ang tulay na Pangulo before, and we are reestablishing, no? And we are revalidating po kung yung mga previously validated tulay ng Pangulo are still there, at kung hindi nagbago yung mga river systems and everything. And then I'm sure kung nandun po yun at validated na, I can ask immediately yung ating partner who is building it, the DPWH, to put itong request ni Congressman na ilagay sa one of the priorities po ng ating DPWH, na yun ang naglalagay ng mga nagko-construct ng ating mga tulay. Yun po yung partner namin for construction. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek Bernie Cruz. Yes, Congressman Rufus Rodriguez.
That is a very vague answer to a very specific question. My question is, how about the 2 tulay na Pangulo revalidated 3 times already, promised to my constituents 3 times in the course of 6 years? That is Barangay Agusan and Barangay Tablon. That's, we cannot have promises that we will include that. Sawa na kami dyan sa mga promises, i-revalidate, isasama. Gusto ko malaman ngayon, gusto ko maibangan, that's what is now the status of specific projects of tulay ng Pangulo to these specific barangays.
Yes, Yusek Bernie Cruz.
Sir, to be specific, nandito po sa aking list ngayon. Mayroon po tayo sa Cagayan de Oro, Misamis Oriental, na nasa pipeline. 4 po ang total sa Cagayan de Oro.
What are the barangays?
Please state those 4 bridges. Ano yung mga pangalan?
I will another 5 minutes, sir. 5 minutes. I will check the voluminous kasi yung aking paper. I will give the specific barangays po in a while.
Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, we'll give them 5 minutes, then they will come back with the answer that you are requesting, the names of the 4 bridges. So 5 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, we will allow them, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you very much.
They should be in the tip of their fingers, but 5 minutes is not.
Yes. Okay. Next, for the... Anyway, no, I will ask Sarah that will give her one more chance for the first round. Audio, kasi hindi daw makapasok yung video. Representative Sarah?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please proceed.
Yes, maraming salamat po. Nais ko lang malaman ng dahilan kung bakit sa kabila ng nasa budget priority ang seguridad sa pagkain para sa taong 2021, ngunit napaka-baba lamang ng percentage ng nakahatag ngayon na pondo na mula sa NEP para sa Department of Agrarian Reform. Ang kanilang hiningi, Ginoong Chair, ay nasa 32 billion pero nasa 8 billion lamang ang pinag-uusapan natin ngayon.
Dar? Yusek Panggulayan?
Mr. Chair, may I request permission for Undersecretary Junjun Malsi to provide the answer to the query.
Yusek John. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ang sa amin po sa DAR, ay totoo po talagang humingi kami ng more than 32 billion supposedly for our budget for 2021. No? But unfortunately, the DBM gave us a ceiling of only 8,850 million po. Ang sinasabi po nilang dahilan sa amin is the historical absorption po ng aming ahensya over the past years. Na sinasabi po naman namin sa kanila na iba naman po ang trust ng present administration at naipakita naman po during the past years na talagang nahihit naman po, although hindi 100%, nahihit naman po ng ating ahensya ang kanilang mga targets, especially sa AJDP at saka sa support services. The two sectors, particularly AJDP and support services, always post more than 100% accomplishments doon sa mga targeted activities po nila. At yung atin naman pong LOD process, yung LTSP natin, at nakakapag-post po ng 80%, ng kanilang target. So, yun lang po. Talaga naman po ang dami nating gustong gawin. Ang dami nating gustong gawin sa ating ahensya at handa naman po ang ahensya na gawin itong mga bagay na to. Pero kailangan po natin ang kaukulang pondo. Yung nga laang po, talagang hindi tayo napagbibigyan ng Department of Budget and Management at binibigyan po tayo ng budget ceiling.
Mr. Chair, can we ask a representative from DBM to respond to this query? Bakit po may budget ceiling na 8 billion? Nababahala po tayo kasi ang prioridad po ngayon, sabi ng DBCC, health, food security, ngunit ang pondo na nakalaan dito napakababa naman.
Thank you, Representative Sara Elago. Anybody from the Department of Budget and Management? Nandiyan ba sa Zoom? DBM? Anybody from DBM who are now attending in this Zoom meeting? Sino sa DBM? Please unmute your microphone from the Department of Budget and Management. DBM, so that you can respond to the query of Representative Sara Elago. DBM. Diyan pa ba yung DBM? Anyway, Congresswoman Sara, we will just ask them to submit the information you are requesting, particularly on the reason why the requested is why they appropriated 8.50 billion pesos from the requested, which is 32.966 billion pesos.
Yes, Mr. Chair, kailangan po magpaliwanag dito ng DBM dahil sa kabila ng pagbibigay prioridad sa salita, ngunit hindi naman natin ito nakikita pagdating naman sa pagbibigay o paglalaan ng pondo. Now, to my next query, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
according to the Adjudication Board, as of June 30, 2020, there are only 6 pending cases out of 4,183 cases from 1988 to 2020. Ano-ano po ang 6 na to na pending cases na lamang sa Adjudication Board ng DAR?
Mr. Chair, permission to speak.
Yes, Yusek Pangulayan.
These are cases pending filed this year, 2020 po, Mr. Chair. The reason why they are pending is because these adjudication cases were elevated to the DAR Adjudication Board only in 2020, and those 6 cases were pending as of June 2020. This representation can ascertain the exact status of these cases, but as of June 2020, there were only 6 cases pending in the dockets of the DAR Adjudication Board, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sir Pamela. Representative Sara.
Ang representasyon po niya ito ay nakihingi ng listahan ng 6 na cases na ito, kasama ang status. Gayon din ang lahat po ng pending cases na hinahawakan ngayon ng Bureau of Agrarian Legal Assistance, ng Agrarian Law Implementation, at lahat po ng cases na may kinalaman sa ALI, at lahat ng kaso na kaugnay ng FLOA cancellation. Maraming salamat, Pinoong Chair.
Thank you very much, Representative Alago. The Chair would like to request the Department of Agrarian Reform to furnish the details of the cases, not limited to the 6, but to the other cases being handled by the department. Please furnish the Committee on Appropriation the data information requested by Member Sara Alago.
We will comply, Mr. Chair.
Next, we will now go back to the request of the representative from the City of Golden Friendship, Cagayan de Oro. He has requested for the data on the 4 bridges. Yusek, Bernie Cruz, are you ready with the information on the 4 bridges of Cagayan de Oro?
Mr. Chair, sorry po kasi voluminous talaga yung aming mga documents dito. Mahirap, wala kaming, because of the pandemic, wala kaming yung nag-scan, ano? Thank you for your consideration, Mr. Chair, no? Sa Cagayan de Oro po, yung dalawa sa District 1 and then yung dalawa sa 2nd District. Sa 2nd District po is Sitio Kilibay, Barangay Agusan, and yung isa is Purok 7, Purok 1, Barangay Tablon. Yun po yung mga yun po yung mga tulay na naka-pipeline po at nandun pa rin at gagawin po ng ating partner na DPWH. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Yusek. Bernie Cruz, are you clear with that, Representative Rufus Rodriguez? Sitio Kiliman and Sitio Tablon, all in Cagayan de Oro City.
It's been 6 years, Mr. Chairman, 6 years. Can we now get the commitment that this will be finished within this year or next year? May we know, Mr. Chairman, when this will be finished, because this has been validated, revalidated, and already been approved many times, but not implemented. May we know what is the time frame so that our people in these 2 barangays, my constituents, will be able to expect this bridge that they have to be able to use.
Yusek Bernie.
Mr. Chair.
Time frame, as requested by Member Rodriguez, yung dalawang tulay doon sa Sitio Kiliban and Sitio Tablon. What is the time frame?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this year po, September na tayo, no, bare months, tapos may pandemic. Maybe what I can say is I will coordinate with our partner, DPWH, and if the congressman will accept, within the next 6 months, the bridge will be there. That I can assure po.
Mr. Chairman,
Member Rodriguez.
Well, we thank our Department of Agrarian Reform. These are 2 very correct answers, that there are 2 confirmed bridges for my district, and it will be finished in 6 months. Let me at this point end by also thanking, I have the figures already for how many hectares have been given by a notice of coverage by the DAR to Cagayan de Oro land holdings of the private sector, which will be distributed. It's 337, and I thank our very outstanding regional director of Region 10, Attorney Lenny Kapinkuyan, for being able to send me this data
immediately. And therefore, we would expect that there will be a distribution of land certificates to our farmers in these 337 hectares identified in the city of Golden Friendship. Thank you very much again, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the Dept of Agrarian Reform. Thank you to our resource persons. Salamat. Daghang salamat. Mayang hapon.
Yes, thank you also. Thank you very much, Member Rufus Rodriguez. Anyway, again, the Chair would like to instruct Department of Agrarian Reform to furnish all the information and data as requested by the members during this budget briefing held today here in the House of Representatives.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we are noting this.
For the second round, I think the last one we have on the list, again, Representative Arlene Brosas. Congresswoman Brosas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair?
Yes, please proceed, Rep. Arlene.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Sa matter of manifestation, Mr. Chair, ang personalization ng mga titulo ng lupa ay mas magpapahina sa posisyon ng magsasaka sa lupa, pasasaklawin ang mga joint venture arrangements at sa gagawing mas madali ang rekonsentrasyon at pang-aagaw muli ng lupa sa mga ARVs. Ang ganitong programa ay hindi rin lulutas sa matagal ng problema ng magsasaka sa kawalan ng lupa. May mga batas rin na nagsasaad na nasa opsyon ng magsasaka kung collective o individual CLOA. RA 6657, 1988, Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law. Section 25, third paragraph, RA 9700, 2009, Series 2009, Corporate Law. Section 10, Section 25 of RA 6657 as amended, 1987 Philippine Constitution, Article 13, Social Justice and Human Rights. Section 4, on Agrarian and Natural Resources Reform. Kaya hindi pwedeng imandato o gawing proyekto ang pagtipak-tipak ng lupa o titulo sa ilalim ng split. Nasa poder ng magsasaka ang diskusyon kung collective o individual titles. Kahit po sa pinasa ng Makabayan Block na Genuine Agrarian Reform Bill ay persuasion na collective farming at collective title na may gabay ng samahang magsasaka. Yun po ang nakasaad doon. Kaya Mr. Chair, ito pong split program, sa tingin po natin, hindi ito dapat ipatupad sa mga magsasaka natin. And lastly, Mr. Chair, itatanong ko sana kung bakit kasama o ano ang role ni Secretary Castraciones sa pagsusulong ng revolutionary government. No? Bahagi siya ng pagkilos para actually labag to sa ating saligang batas, Mr. Chair. Yun lang, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Representative Arlene Brosas, for your manifestation. And last question, Secretary John Castraciones, would you like to respond to the
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. And first of all, I'd like to respond to the first query or to the first manifestation of our honorable representative with regards to the split program. You know, the split program was designed in order to help the government and primarily the farmers. Now, it is not mandatory that all collective CLOAs will be subjected to the split. For those collective CLOAs now being governed by the ARBOs who would like to retain their collective CLOAs because they are efficiently managing their cooperative and it is earning them much money or much income and profit for that matter, then we will allow them to operate the way they would want it done. But basically, the very purpose why we would like to have this split program is because we would like to empower our farmers so that they will have a title of their own. Para po magkaroon po sila ng sariling titulo at magagamit po nila ang kanilang titulo para po maka-avail sa mga programa na kung saan sila po ay makakahiram ng mga pera at makakahiram po ng mga loans sa mga financing institutions. Pangalawa, ang atin pong gobyerno ay nangangailangan po ng mga revenues At dahil po sa collective CLOA, hindi po nakakaipon ng revenue ang ating pamahalaan dahil lahat po ng collective CLOAs ay wala pong LADIS, yung tinatawag natin na Land Acquisition Distribution Information Sheet. Hindi po mapinpoint kung aling bahagi ng collective CLOA ang pagmamay-ari ng bawat magsasaka. At dahilan po diyan, hindi po nila nababayaran yung kanilang amortisasyon sa land bank. Kaya hindi po makapag-kolekta ang land bank sa mga amortisasyon na dapat nilang ibayad. Pangalawa, ang mga local government units natin, hindi rin po sila makapag-kolekta ng tinatawag natin na mga real property tax o kaano pang mga buwis na nararapat po sana sa pamahalaan. Kaya napakahalaga po nitong split program para po magkaroon po ng income, revenue ang ating pamahalaan at ganun din po para mapaunlad po ang pamumuhay ng ating mga magsasaka. Kaya yan po ang rasyonale ng ating split program. At ito po ay sinang-aayunan mismo ng ating pong economic team sa administrasyon. At sila po ang siyang nagbunsod nito na nagbigay ng panukala at tumulong sa atin para po magampanan natin itong programang ito at maisagawa natin para sa kapakanan po ng ating mga magsasaka at ng ating pamahalaan. Yan po ang unang kasagutan doon sa unang manifestasyon ng ating pong kagalang-galang na congresswoman. Doon po sa pangalawa, yun po sa revolutionary government, kung makikita nyo po ay ang ating pong organisasyon na MRRD-NECC ay isa pong demokratikong samahan. At iba-iba po ang mga boses ng mga taong nandito. Meron po yung mga nag-aadvokasya ng revolutionary government, meron din po yung mga nag-aadvokasya na nagsasabi na wag po nating gawin yan. Pero isa lamang po ang pakay at isa lamang po ang purpose at rationale kung bakit ganito po ang gawain na itong samahan na ito sapagkat ang inaadvokasya po ng samahan nito ay magkaroon po ng isang federal system of government. At yung title na revolutionary government ay isa lamang pong pangalan yan pero hindi po ito yung sinasabing revolution na labag sa batas. Sa katunayan, ang itinataguyod po ng iba pong nag-aadvokasya nito para makamtan po yung tinatawag natin na federal system of government para sa kapakanan po ng ating mga mamamayan doon po sa mga malalayong lugar katulad po ng Mindanao, Visayas at mga far-flung areas para marinig po ang kanilang boses ay ang gusto po nila ay sa pamamagitan po ng naitadhana ng saligang batas na kung saan ito po yung tinatawag na People's Initiative na alam kong ito po yung pinakamataas na uri po ng soberanya na ibinibigay po sa ating mga mamamayan. Kaya hindi po ito ayon sa tinatawag na revolutionary government na labag sa batas. Ito lamang po ay pangalan ng mga nag-aadvokasya pero ang talagang dahilan kung ba't po nila ginagawa nito ay dahil gusto po nila magkaroon ng isang federal system of government para magkaroon po ng boses ang mga maliliit nating mamamayan, lalong-lalo na po yung mga nandun po sa mga malalayong lugar na hindi po nabibigyan ng pag-asa para magkaroon ng pagkakataon para mapaunlad ang kanilang pamumuhay. Salamat po.
Mr. Chair, last rejoinder, Mr. Chair, maiksi lang po.
Yes, last rejoinder, Representative Arlene Rojas.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, yung split pala ay para pagkakitaan pa, no? Ang mga magsasaka para magkaroon ng revenues ang gobyerno. Kung gusto po ng DAR sa split ay para magkaroon ng access to credit cards or to credit and services para sa magsasaka, may iba pong mga paraan at proyekto na pwede pang pondohan. So, Mr. Chair, kung gusto talaga natin tulungan yung mga magsasaka natin, paunahin po, mabigyan ang mga manggagawang pangpuntang mga manggagawang pang-agrikultura na walang sariling lupa. Una po yun di ba? Second, sabi natin, gusto natin tulungan talagang particular direct services and subsidy sa ating mga magsasaka. Yun po dapat ang gawin, no, na mga programa at primary na programa na direktang magbebenepisyo yung ating mga magsasaka. At hindi po sa iba't ibang paraan na ito na lalo lang na sige natin mapagkakakitaan pa yung mga magsasaka. No? Sila pa yung kukunan ng revenue ng gobyerno na ito na sila hirap na ngayon. No? Nahihirapan sa iba't ibang policies ng gobyerno sa kasalukuyan. Mr. Chair. And lastly, Mr. Chair, gusto ko lang ulitin, wala sa
Please
Constitution
wrap up.
ang revolutionary government. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, pwede po ba ako sumagot muli?
Make it short, Secretary.
O nga po, parang hindi po taliwas po yung sinasabi po ng ating kagalang-galing ng Congresswoman na pagkikitaan po ng pera yung mga malilit na magsasaka. Bagkus, ang lahat po ng ito ay para po sa kanilang kapakanan. Kasi kapag mayroon pong mga revenues na makukuha, ang ating pong pamahalaan, ayan po ay gagamitin din para sa ating mga magsasaka. At pangalawa, kaya nga po pinagtitibay namin yung mga pagtulong natin sa mga magsasaka at sana ay hinihikayat ko po si Congresswoman na sana tumulong siya para mapalaki po ang ayuda na maibigay natin sa mga magsasaka sa pagtulong po sa pagpapalaki ng budget po para po maibigay po natin sa ating mga magsasaka sapagkat napakaliit po ng budget ng ating pong departamento para tulungan po sa ayuda ang ating mga magsasaka. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Secretary John Castriciones. And thank you also, Congresswoman Arlene Gosas. Anyway, there is just one last
Yes,
data
Mr. Chair.
request from Representative Sarate.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just a request for information and data. During the DBCC presentation last Friday, there was a mention of a 400 million budget under DAR na kasama doon sa National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, NTF-LCAC. We request DAR to provide us information as anong mga proyekto ito, saan ito, at ano ang purpose nito. And also for this year's budget, this year's GAA, kung meron ding mga proyektong related to that, as well as itong 400 million.
Okay, thank you very much. The COMSEC, please secure the data information from the Department of Agrarian Reform. Please submit to the Committee Secretariat the data requested by Representative Sarate. Anyway, that is the last for our first and second round. We enjoined together with the statement made earlier by Deputy Speaker El Rey Villafuerte. There are programs of the Department of Agrarian Reform which are really laudable, and the members of this House would like to support. One is the mega farms and the Tuloy ng Pangulo program, and we will support that together with other members of the committee.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Vice Chairman Kuya Jonathan C. Alvarado.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Mukha pong wala na tayong kasama na member ng House of the People na nais magtanong sa DAR, at pinapasalamatan po ng representanting ito ang DAR sa kanilang pagpe-present at pagpunta dito sa kabila ng meron pong pandemya ng COVID ngayong panahon nito. Nawa po ay mapagbigyan po lahat ng kahilingan, lalong-lalo na yung mga dokumento na pinasisecure po o pinakukuha po sa ating committee secretary upang mabigyan po ng linaw ang mga katanungan ng ating mga kasamang kinatawan dito sa House of the People. At Mr. Chair, mula po doon sa mga nabanggit po natin na punto, ay motion to terminate the proceedings of this briefing, Mr. Chair.
There's been a motion to terminate the proceedings of this budget briefing of the Department of Agrarian Reform. Do I hear a second?
I second, Mr. Chair.
This budget briefing of the Department of Agrarian Reform. Hearing no objection. Hearing is terminated. And I'd like to request yung all those in the Zoom meeting, particularly those with the Department of Agrarian Reform, the chair would like to request you to leave the Zoom room to allow the officials and the members of the DOE to connect also. So again, those from the Department of Agrarian Reform, please leave the room, leave the Zoom room to allow DOE also to connect and come in. So the next we will